going on? What's going on? Welcome to King Talk on the Lapeef Network. What's going on, family? How y'all doing?
What's going down, bro?
Man, can't call it, can't call. Let me introduce the panel
Salute,
while we got them
salute,
up
salute.
here. We got Rilla.
Oh, ain't nobody got.
Oh, forget about that. Trying to get the class going. Here we go. We got Rilla. Way to start it off. We got Trill.
What up?
We got Jedi Mike. Shannon. We got Banner. And me and myself on Lapeef J. Welcome to King Talk. It's always something in the beginning, man. Gotta get it together. We appreciate you guys for tuning in out there. Make sure you get the likes up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Memberships are open. I just posted it in the chat, so make sure you sign up for the member. We are going to be doing some special things for the members only. Again, welcome, gentlemen. This show is going to be a little bit different. Not too far off from our purpose of King Talk, but Jedi and Banner called in to one of our recent shows on the Lapeef Let's Talk, and these guys, they were on it. Jedi, I believe, is 23, and Banner, you're 25, right? The youth. This show is strictly about the youth coming into manhood. That's what the title of the show is tonight, and we're going to just kind of break down the different dynamics on how the youth thinks. I want the gentleman to be able to ask us some questions. I want to see if we can kind of bridge the gap, because I feel like there's a disconnection when it comes to understanding the youth these days. Times are definitely different, and I feel like that we have to adjust to how our youth is. So, but before we get started, I want to get to know you guys a little bit. I want the people to be able to understand who you are. I'm going to start with you, Jedi. Are you on mute, just so you know? There you go.
How you guys doing?
Wonderful.
All right, so you just want to introduce myself? Okay. All right, so my name's Michael, and I'll go by Jedi Mike, but I'm 23 years old. I'm currently a senior in college right now. I'm majoring in IT and graphic design in my last year. And I come from, in terms of my background, I come from a two-parent household. My father is a pastor, but he's also been in the Navy as well, and I had a military background as well. My upbringing, I've been put, in terms of parenting, I've been put through a lot of things, especially my parents being pastors. I've been put through a lot of training and discipline in my household. I've been in Boy Scouts. I've been in karate, martial arts, and everything, just stuff that to just contribute more self-discipline and everything. I've been going into other things in terms of my major. I've also been in tech field. I was part of the Technology Student Association in high school. I've been part of National Honor Society in high school as well. In college, I'm also been part of, in terms of Black Male Initiative, in terms of having conversation, in terms of bettering the Black male in the college campuses. And and I'm currently just in my last year, about to finish. I'll have one more semester, then I'm gonna be done. But yeah.
Man, that's a dope resume, man. I look forward to seeing what you're going to present to this world, man. Good stuff. Banner, what's going on, young gentleman, young man?
How you doing? I didn't even want him to go first. I don't know why you did that. My name is Shema. That's my first name, Shema Mallard. But I go by Cheeky Banner. That's my artist name. So I'm currently interning at Morgan Stanley. I've been studying computer science. So, I'm coming towards the end of that, and now I'm moving into my role into corporate America and learning how to navigate that during my internship. I did go to college at University of West Georgia, and I'm currently a student at Atlanta Metro State College. So I'm in Atlanta, by the way, just to give a location. I'm in Atlanta. I just saw TLA, so hopefully we can run into each other. You can drop off some cash for my tuition. I was just like,
what? Yes, please. Yes, please.
You didn't say where you was from, but it's only for Atlanta natives. But honestly, that's pretty much it to me. I enjoy making music. That's my way of being artistic and creative and expressing myself. In conversation, I really enjoy, talking to the OGs. It's just people in general, but the OGs, they typically have a lot to offer.
And I think it's dope, man, because so often we don't really realize how much young people actually are watching us as content creators. So I was amazed to hear you guys, brothers, and when you guys spoke, man, it spoke volumes. I mean, the people were just cheering for you, because you guys were on point. You guys were articulate. You guys were engaged. So I think that's very special, especially coming from like young men like yourself. So if you can, just tell me like what is it that like makes you want to seek knowledge from the OGs or actually listen to older people? Because people know I have a 16-year-old son and I can't get him to listen to older people for anything. He just doesn't want to learn anything. He just doesn't want to get the advantage over others. So just kind of break that down for me. Like,
You sound like my dad.
yeah.
You go ahead and go, Jedi Mike.
Are you sure? I don't know, you want... Okay.
Yeah, let me go first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go first. How about that? Yeah. So what got me that way, honestly, is one of those things that I think is God given. I think everyone has different personalities for a reason. And I think the information that you give to people doesn't necessarily process during the same time frame. I know for a fact when I was in high school and middle school and elementary school, pretty much my entire time I ain't always listened to my dad. It just took, moments of being introspective and really looking in, inside me as a, man to figure out, hey, what's going on? And, more often than not, it was the voice of my father would always come back to my head and go, I told you. And it's just like, oh, he was right. And the same thing with OGs as well. So, just a little more on my background. I was raised or born in the country, raised in the inner city, then I was raised in the suburbs. So I have different perspectives of, mindset and mentality. And I can say that I've learned that at every point of, interaction with men, there's a level of wisdom that they still can give. And that just came from experience. So honestly, I think it's just a time frame. Some people learn or listen or, follow their coaches, plan just a little later.
Okay. What about you, Jedi?
Well, I can say this, that in terms of relation with my father and also just being an only child, that my father was out going working a lot and I was mostly at home with my mother. So you can see how that some dynamic can shift. But as I got older, as I moved out of the house, I'm living on my own and everything, learning that a lot of things is that a lot of the hard truth that he'd been telling me was right. But also the truth that he's coming from, that he's speaking to me when I was younger, did not come from also just from reading a book. It came from experience. And talk about from his background where he grew up. My father grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, um, and he just gave me that terms of dynamic of just growing up in that area, just in terms of a man, in terms of protection, also just having strength and leadership, especially him being in boot camp and all stuff just before he got into the Navy and everything. So, but to turn to answer your question about education, why I value that, because I do believe, listen, as men, we're forged, not through shortcuts, we're forged through the process. And I think a lot of times today is that that this process right now is kind of getting belittled, and also not being promoted. And I think that's almost the enlightenment of what men are supposed to be. But now I can just learn that a lot of hardships and things that I'm doing right now as I'm like moving forward in relationship and hopefully going to marriage and then to soon be a father, is that knowing that making sure now I'm not following that blueprint of my father, but also exceeding my father. I'm a first generation college student, and that was the first thing that he put initiative with that. So even then, even being the first person my family to go to college, it still isn't over after that. He just continued to strive for education, strive for learning, and everything like that. So that's where my passion kind of came from.
Okay. Go ahead, Shan. You on mute, just so you know.
Jedi, you mentioned this is you're a senior in on your undergraduate program, in your
Yes,
bachelor
sir.
in science
Yes, and graphic design.
and graphic design. Okay. Oh, so Bachelor of Arts. Okay. Is that do you have a minor or is that your only major?
That's my major, and I have my minor. Same with IT.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay.
I heard you say that, but I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I have that because soon I'm working on terms of working in terms of a GA position. Hopefully, you'll get my master's paid for. And then
The GA position. What is the GA position?
a GA is basically a graduate assistant. So basically, I'll be working. So I'll be working as an employee, but as well they'll have my master's paid for that. But yeah.
No, I know what it is. I just didn't know the
Mhm.
the acronym. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a question. I heard you say you was the first one in your family to go to college. What about your friend group? Did any of your boys come out and join you, or are you kind of taking this thing on alone?
Really, it's only been me because some of my friends just did not want to go to college.
Mm.
I'm from the East Coast, so I grew up in the 757 Virginia area. So in that and I grew up in Newport News. We kind of give it a name called Bad News Virginia, because there's not nothing really good stuff that happens in there. And so yeah, I really was kind of like a loner in terms of just things that I was breaking, even just now my friend group. Especially when I was in National Honor Society, it wasn't really a lot of black males going in there. And even then, we got like backlash for it, just the fact that I was kind of seating from the overall group of it, which that goes to another discussion. But yeah, but some of my friends have, but it's only a handful of us, not a whole bunch of us. But yeah.
Got you. And with that, do you feel a sense of like survivor's remorse at all?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot tell you, listen, I had teachers that when I was in class, because like I know obviously we kind of get the whole demeanor, uh you're not following the crowd, you want, are you the sheep or are you the shepherd, right? And I was trained to be the shepherd, right, eventually. But like I said, is that I don't want to have this mindset like, okay, let's the crowd over there, let me go there, now let me go do something different. But in terms of having that survival, it's like um immediately my freshman year of college, me and my friend Josh, shout out to him, uh we basically kind of realized, I won't say really the mortality of our life, because we realized how many folks were dying literally after graduation. And literally our second semester of freshman year and our sophomore year, we realized this person's gone, this person's gone, this person ain't doing nothing with life, this one's locked up, this one's now pregnant, whatever. And it just like, and really after graduation or going to graduation, the question comes, so you're gonna go back home? Hell no. Because I don't believe in terms of that. I do believe that mindset also is a spirit and it's contagious, so I don't want to be around that. But even then, I had teachers that pulled me off to the side that knew I was like different, and also my friends. Well, I was like the only one in AP classes, APs of advanced placement, college classes and stuff.
Mhm.
And they put me off the side like, Mike, I know where you're going. You're going to college and stuff like that. I'm making sure you can, I want you to get the hell out of here. When you get, I'm like, I don't want you to come back here. And it's like, 'cause there's nothing here for you. And they were right. And I didn't realize it until now. But realizing that I had that cry for like, listen, now you need to get out of here. And then they try to save your life. Even then my father put that into me too. Cause he grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and he moved to, in military Navy. He went, he met my mother in San Diego, California. That's where I was born. But after I was 2, we got stationed over here, the East Coast, to Virginia, and he just stood there. And he was like, "No, I'm not going back to Louisville. No, I don't want to grow. I don't want to raise you there. No." So, yeah.
Okay, man, that's pretty dope. I kind of want to transition a little bit. I want to ask you guys, like, what is it that we're not getting that you need from us? What is it that you're not getting from us as adults, that, as men, that you guys really think that you need?
Banter, go ahead.
Um, it's a very multifaceted question. But I'll say this. I think that you guys are doing what you can as far as making platforms like this and having the manosphere. And I'm familiar with seeing Trill from Crew Season, so I know the conversations he's having. So the people on this platform are doing what they can to help as a whole. So when it comes to you all, I would say continue that. But in a very general sense, I think men have to be more intentional in their actions in regards to sex, in regards to things that are spiritually minded, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a Christian, but I do believe that there are aspects of human beings that if one is neglected, it affects the whole. So I know it's easy to, especially during on the red pill community to see men if she don't act right, just get rid of her and just go slay another one. It's like, well, let's think about the effects of that, because there are effects. And you guys had a conversation about that 2 episodes ago about how sex does affect men, not in the same manner, but it's still there. And to be to act as if it's not is to be ignorant. I don't think that's the smart thing to do. So, and I think honestly that portion of men or manhood is the part that gets neglected the most, because you don't get single motherhood from celibacy. I've never, I mean, the only version I know that has a baby is the Virgin Mary, and that, if you believe in that, then you know what I'm talking about. But outside of that, that means that there's a woman who's having sex with a man, and that man is either making a very poor decision in his choices of women, and the outcomes of that is rippling, and also there's a butterfly effect. So there's the immediate effect, and there's the long-term effect. And the long-term effect is 80% of African American children having one parent in the home, and that's detrimental to everything about being raised correctly, because statistics show it to be true. So I think that's one of the bigger things. We can talk about ladies, we can talk about how they not submissive, but we can also talk about how there's no penal discipline. There is no no regard for holding yourself, because there's that aspect of being a man too. It's not just women, it's both.
Yeah.
And I like that, man. I was just having a conversation about you brothers, man. I said you guys are the next up, man. You guys are the next generation. I like that answer. Jedi, what about you? Like, what is it that you feel is that you can get more from us, or that you need from us?
Okay, so with that question, like I said, is multifaceted, but I think I put that question kind of like maybe in 2 or 3 parts. One, I said the man raised today in 2021 is not the man that's been raised in the condition back in the 80s, 70s, or 60s. My dad was born in 59. That was a very different time. Men being grown up that age, in that time, there weren't no pulling punches, weren't no any way of sugarcoating, in terms of the truth, or nurturing and cultivating men to be men. Either is basically right. It was the survival of the fittest. Either you win or you lose, whatever. Not making no excuses. So I think on that instance of that, we're lacking the discipline from you. Is that one? Not only the condition to talk about how much we're raised by our mothers and our fathers, but the fact that we're lacking the discipline, the fact that you haven't even got as a father, because let's say, our father today probably, is in his 30s, whatever. So he was probably born maybe 80s, 80s, 70s, whatever. And at that time, over now, you can see that maybe he didn't have his father at the time. So how can he give you discipline, his child discipline that he never got? So on that instant, that I feel we're lacking that. But also I feel the one thing that we're lacking is consistency. Being men of our word, and also being men of action. We don't watch what you say, we watch what we do as children. And I think that on that note is that we're lacking that. A lot of men are not or a lot of the men of the older generation are not actually putting where their money where the mouth is. Not like in this situation here, where you guys are giving back or giving us this opportunity to talk, which you are doing, but how many people are doing this, right? But on the second end, it's consistency. We'll say we're going to do it for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden we just fall off. So then that answers that. What can that younger generation can emulate, saying, okay, well, he's being consistent, so I need to be consistent. That's the thing. So I feel in that instance, that's what I feel like we're lacking from y'all sometimes, from the older generation that I see.
Here's a question. Do you feel like because I know with me, I'm not too much older than y'all, so I know just growing up in my neighborhood, a lot of the OGs and stuff didn't really know how to be OGs. or wasn't really OGs. They was just old niggas on the block. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times they'll be trying to live vicariously through you. So they'll be pushing you to do dumb shit, whatever the case may be, because it makes them feel like that they still in the game, rather than accepting the fact, hey, I'm an OG. I'm trying to guide y'all, keep y'all away from the mistakes that we made growing up. I got a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I want to ask you, like, did you feel that type of pressure from like the older guys in the neighborhood to kind of like not feel like them not really pushing you towards what's positive, but like trying to more or less compete with you and like live vicariously through you? And how did you navigate it? to get to where you are?
So, no, I went first. Go ahead, Jedi. We'll back and forth. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. So you're going your question is saying that have I felt by the older generation to try and push me into a corner to basically kind of go away and kind of dive into terms of a mindset that's also not productive, basically, right? Absolutely, I can tell you this, especially uh, a lot of it is just men or just males in general. We want to get respect from other males, right? So I think on that note, it's just that what in this generation or this time frame that we're in, what to get male respect is also to get and lead to basically his own self destruction. It's like, and I don't really realize that as a child. Obviously, you're in the most vulnerable state. You don't know better.
All right.
But the way it was, like one, I had a very active mother that saw me where she was on my ass every day, like saying like, listen, where I was going to, who I was hanging with, and stuff like that. And I couldn't stand her. She was getting on my nerves sometimes, but I knew what she was doing. But then when my father came home, he was the one actually making sure he went to take me out in terms of on the court, playing basketball, but also he told me being mindful of his surroundings, because him growing up in Louisville, Kentucky as a child, he listen, I'm gonna tell you this will happen here. Don't do this, don't do that, walk like this, talk like this, whatever. So way you can protect yourself. And then with you with somebody else, this is where you can protect them. And because not everyone, say that your friend is your friend, and you sometimes you might learn that the hard way. But as a child, that's what my parents were. They were just very active in just terms of my social interactions with people. Now I don't want to say they really were controlling. They were just protective, and they were very they were overseeing a lot of things. They knew they didn't know they didn't left unattended. They didn't left me unattended or anything like that, where they didn't know what was going on with me or who I was interacting with. But yeah.
And in regards to me, my father just very early on. So I come from a divorced household. So, I had the decision to choose who to stay with was up to me. And so I remember my dad had a conversation with me when I was 8 years old, or 7 going on 8. And he said, I want you to live with me because a man can raise a man. And I will remember that for the rest of my life because of what that statement said. It said to him, I am your image of what masculinity is. I'm your image of what a father should be. I'm your best friend. I'm your brother. Every role that requires a masculine figure, he played that role according to, what he had learned from life. And because he understood and knew his child, which I think is also another part of why men just have to be involved, is he understood that I've always been an intellectual. So he never spoke to me like a kid. He always told me what it was, and how things are and what this translates to and the outcomes and effects. And because of that, it garnered trust first, and then it garnered respect. I think that's a big part that most people really neglect when it comes to the development of a child, is they have to trust you. Like if I see my mother or father doing something that's clearly wrong, whether I can explain or express this, verbally, it doesn't matter. I still have some level of consciousness to go, I don't think this is right. So if I see an image or have a continual image of what is right and what is wrong, and he's reinforcing it through discipline, through teaching, through conversation, through all the means that's needed to basically build a relationship and treat me as a individual, but also as a young man. He never babied me. That plays a big role. So he made it very clear too. I don't care what the mother. I remember to this day. We went to church one time, right? So these kids are drawn on this dirty dude's car. Like his car dirty. Like they just drawing their names. And I went over there and I was finna go draw. I don't know what I was gonna draw. I was thinking about drawing something inappropriate, but I knew I was gonna get whooped. But before I went over there, he said, "Bring your behind over here." And I was like, "Dang, I ain't even do it yet. Like what?"
Right.
And he was like, "I don't care what them other kids is doing. You're my child, and because you're my child, we have a different standard." And it's like what I'm saying? I experienced that when I was a kid. So that's what I mean, JR, by just because you're 16 don't mean you're not gonna get it. Man, I was dumb.
Right.
But yeah, that's what guided me from falling into other people's mistakes is because I had somebody to go, this is a totally different standard. And if this is who you are, that's cool and that's fine, but just know it's not a part of our family.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest thing.
Hey, Banter. So real quick, I'm a Panther too. You know, every time I get on here, somebody say something, I like, yo, I got a story for that. But I'm a Panther too. And matter of fact, when I was at it wasn't State College just yet. It was Atlanta Metro, and they had just tore Chocolate City down across the street. And I was SGA president my sophomore year. Well, my second year there, I was SGA president for some time. But it sounds like both of you gentlemen got really, really good, solid foundations, right? So my question for y'all is, you know, what are the top 3 things, or maybe the number 1 thing that you're doing to invest in yourself and become the best version of yourself?
Well, I'd say on that note, I said, well, the one thing that I'm doing is that the saying establishing priorities and working. Like, this is the age of me, you know, putting my head down, working up till I'm 35, right? And my dad told me that, like, listen, all this things you see on social media about boasting about, you're gonna go these trips and all this stuff like that. Like, no. You're gonna put your head down, you're gonna work up for next, 7-10 years, whatever. And then hopefully you actually did the process correctly. And then you got something to lean back on and to stand for as a man. Because right now, what I'm doing right now, like, I have 3 other jobs I'm doing. I work as a manager at a recreation facility. I work as a marketing program assistant, and I work as an event supervisor as well. And with my IT minor, what I'm doing is I work as a research assistant, where I work on like the solar panels on my campus in Fairfax, Virginia. I've been doing that for about 4 years. And my dad, basically what he was telling me to do, just like, listen, you basically going to work. And that's what he said right now. Like, all this playtime, you work now, play later, right? That's always kept running in my head ever since I was a kid. And now, is it fun? Hell no. Like, especially like, when you have, group of friends, you want to go to parties and stuff like that, or just want to do certain things like that. Like, now I got to get to work. And the thing that my dad keep putting in my head, which making that sure that they'll make sure nobody outworks you. Now, now in terms of definition of work can be self-discipline, or me going to the gym consistently, like reading, whatever, not just reading for school assignments, reading just for, to cognitively like develop your brain as a man. Because you're not going to be illiterate now, definitely not in my house. That's what he was saying, and right. And so that was the thing, that practicing that process of self-discipline and establishing my priorities as a man. That's what I feel like is number 1 thing I'm doing right now in my early 20s.
For me, I would say the number 1 thing is continuing communication with my father, and make sure I maintain that level of mentorship. So the beautiful thing about a flourishing relationship is it progresses through different stages. So, in my earlier years, it was disciplinary, authoritative, and then it progressed to, a coach in a sense. And then now that I'm 25, it's a mentor. Our relationship has changed and developed, but the respect still remains because of, what he's decided to build, with me. And that's the first thing. I understand that I'm not all knowing. I understand I'm not a deity. So that means that there's gonna be times and moments where I need to have some questions answered, and I need some things to be worked out and have a sounding board to, critically think or critically challenge what I'm thinking, so that I don't make a mistake. So that's the first. The second would be remaining disciplined. So that like Jedi was saying, translates to different things. So for me, remaining disciplined means, staying inside of the gym. It also means making sure that I am working continually. So I'm also in the Air Force Reserves, which takes up some time in its own right. But while I'm not doing my internship, I also work on the weekend. So I'm pretty much working 7 days a week. And if I am off on the weekend, then that means, it could be a military thing, or I may just take the time to, delegate that to my girl. So, being disciplined and organized is part 2 to that. And the third is remaining focused and remembering why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think it's easy to if you lose track of your purpose and what you're designed to be, and that part of that comes from your parents, like they guide you in that purpose. But if you lose sight of who you are and what you're supposed to be in regards to family legacy, I carry the last name Mallard, and there's a thing called Mallard Men that my father reminds me of. You are a Mallard man, and it's certain tendencies will come out, characteristics will come out. But it's remembering that I'm representing something bigger than myself, which causes me to be a little more responsible and more thoughtful about my actions. And it keeps me to a certain standard that if I fall below, I feel it internally, and if I go above and beyond, I don't praise it because it's just a duty. So it's one of those things where, you know, all of those things culminate and make me who I am, but they all stem from, again, that father figure.
Word. So, JR, just real quick follow-up question. JR, and I hope I'm not stepping on nobody's toes with this question, but I know he asked earlier, you know, what is something that you guys or this generation needs from us that you all are not getting? But I wanted to know, what is something that my generation can learn from your generation?
I see you, Shannon Raw's face. Pride. Let me stop. But
I'm a lifelong student. I learn from anybody. I learn from my kids. I learn from the youth that I work with. I learn from everybody.
That's tough. You want to know why? Because there's so many issues now. I don't know if it's progressively gotten worse or better.
Speak to it.
Don't get me started, man.
Go ahead.
Again, that's what we're here for.
Go ahead.
Y'all see, I got my notepad. Look, man, let's go.
Get it off your chest.
Let's dig in.
I think the thing you have to learn is that, unfortunately, parents today have let, you can say the government, you can say any, somebody else, anybody out there on the household, to let them raise their kids and then complain, oh, it's, the society's fault, whatever like that, and not taking priority to, listen, I am the sole. I don't say I have takes full responsibility of everything that this child is developing in my household, and if I'm letting them trying to let them raise my kid, I failed, right? I think the point that I'm saying is that even for me, it's just things are changing now. Boy Scouts is not what it is today, and it was 10 years ago. When I was in Boy Scouts, that was Boy Scouts. Okay, and unfortunately, what thing is that there's certain processes that you in older generations that you guys have had, that you guys have had to forge your character as a man, forge your something that forge your mindset as a man, and as well as your priorities, and it might be boot camp, might be other stuff like that, whatever it might be. Today, those things are slowly being passed by. So with that is the process of men being actually strong men of leadership is slowly being taken away. And unfortunately, I think we have to realign ourselves for old generation to get back to what we need to be doing in terms of where we're not letting outside forces in terms of raising our sons to be undeveloped men, because that's what's happening.
I honestly don't know if this is a good question for us. It seems like we both have old souls, so a lot of what he's saying, I don't disagree with. The biggest issue that we face today as a younger generation is emotionalism. And because of emotionalism and our desire to want to put our feelings before facts, or not look at things objectively and go, this is good and this is bad. We find ourselves where everything's subjective. So now we're having discussions about masculinity, where at some point, not all men, but a vast majority of men probably knew what it means to be a man. Now we got to have conversations and discussions about certain things, about things that have just, as far as an evolutionary standpoint, it's just been there, So there's a difference. I don't remember none of the rappers, and this is one thing, but I don't remember none of the rappers wearing dresses. I don't remember KRS-One talking about, let me put on a dress. I don't remember Busta Rhymes talking about it. So when you start everything that society does translates in such a large way to where it affects everything. So when you have a society that's built or not built, let me say a society that's pushing a feminine presence and making a feminine surgence and just it dominating everything, it affects everything. It's up to the men, back to what we were saying about action, to do something about it. And again, this is why this channel is getting the support that it's getting, is because there's an acknowledgement. There's people here trying to do something.
Yeah.
And I see that they're trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And which means that I need to participate, whether it be through Patreon, whether through super chats. I just saw somebody give $99, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? People
Shout
get
out
money out
Jonathan,
here,
my
and
boy Jonathan, man.
they're supporting. So when you start doing those things, and those things are becoming more and more evident, you can see that there's a difference. So when it comes to learning from us, honestly, I don't know. That's not to say there's nothing worth learning from us, because that's not true. But
Right.
when it comes to my viewpoint, I may be 25 and I may be the age of my peers, but mentally I'm not. And that translates in all of my actions. That's what makes me different.
Yeah. And I want to add on to that, what you were saying, because you're talking about more of a feminine nature, because the absence of the male, what happens is for the mother, obviously with the role of nurturing, everything like that, that comes with her. But what happened is that when it comes with boys and girls, what happened is that they're loving their sons and they're raising their daughters, right? So what I mean by that is like they're in a way they're kind of protecting and sheltering the son, and way they're telling the daughter, you need to, you need to compete, you need, go get your education, get all the other stuff, basically, be competitive and other stuff like that. While really, now I'm not saying that as a human being, you being ambitious is is a bad thing, girls, male or female. What I'm saying is that that's being taken away from the male and trying to say fully given it to the female, and it basically leads to the power dynamic where now we're in competition with our own women when we're never supposed to be in the first place.
Right. And again, it goes back to accountability and parenting. So everything coincides with being accountable. So you can't have, for example, I saw a video about O'Shea today where NBA young boy's mom is saying you can't blame just stop blaming the parents for our kids' bad behavior.
No, not parents. Not parents. Stop blaming baby moms. Yeah.
So you saw that. What that's what I'm saying. When you start shifting the accountability and responsibility of one parent to where there's no no form of reprimand for your lack of choosing or your lack of raising, then all it does is co-sign this behavior of emotional man and irresponsible man. He's 22 with 7 kids. That's crazy. Not married to not one of the women, but you see what I'm saying? That says something. She raised the man that she doesn't have. Like I didn't see her. I don't know anything about young boy's dad. Well, I know he said they went to jail, but patterns are repeated. Yeah. So if you're not going to hold yourself accountable for any of the actions or lack thereof, then you're bound to repeat a pattern. It takes a lot to be introspective and really accept who you are and what you've done and change that.
So I'm gonna be honest though, I feel like we get them out to do stuff like that when we're not in our kids' lives, because at the end of the day, she feels like a victim, right? So when you feel like a victim, you don't feel like you should get blamed for anything because you wasn't in the home, so you forced me to have to raise this kid, and probably I don't know if you got brothers and sisters, whatever the case may be, but you forced me to have to take on a masculine role because you was not there. So his daddy gave her out to feel the way she feels. Now, is there some responsibility she has to take on? Of course. But if we did our job in terms of setting the table, setting the standard, being there, raising our kids, they wouldn't be able to have that out. But unfortunately, they do. So we got to take some onus in that.
If given the opportunity to do so.
I'm about to say, right. And again, I don't have any statistics to just back this up as of right now, but I do know that there are cases of men trying to enter into their child's life,
and they're not allowed.
You go through hell to do it. And fortunately for me, that was not the case with my father with the divorce, but that's not his story, is not everyone else's. And there is there is nuance to this conversation, and which makes it a conversation. We're not just quoting facts here. We're having a talk, and the talk is, regardless of a man being there or not, you still have to take some form of accountability. Just because he wasn't there, I'm not saying there's no excuse for it. I'm just saying, just because he wasn't there doesn't mean that you don't have any responsibility or accountability to be taken, on your part. That's crazy. That's immature. It's crazy. And if you continue to do that, you're going to raise a crazy, immature child.
Yeah, and more often than not, you won't know the truth. You never hear the truth.
Right. It's only one-sided.
I mean, I think that's the whole purpose of the lead attorney's channel.
Shout out to him.
Being a 20-year divorce attorney. He jumped on and started his channel because he was watching for 20 years men get railroaded in divorce, including the child support side, including the visitation side. So you have to add that. And another thing is, what about the digital divide? There's a huge digital divide that a lot of the brothers that's on this, like I'm older, I'm 49, but one of the things I've always wanted to make sure that I was have a young spirit. I always knew that having a young spirit, as I'm getting older, it was going to be beneficial to me, because in my case now, I'm able to tap into younger men, where other dudes that's my age is like old dudes. It's weird to see, man. It's weird to see. You're going to see it too as you guys start touching on 50. You're going to be looking at your boys. You're going to be like, damn, y'all like, it's like you got one foot in the grave. It's like you an old man already. And they look at me like,
Facts.
Dan is like, and I ain't out there trying to rock Gucci belts and sag and wear skinny jeans. We ain't going there, right?
Right.
You ain't gonna catch me wearing skinny. I ain't rocking like that.
Oh, really? I don't know. I think if enough old man do it, you gonna do it too.
Or just say they be over that swag and surfing, huh?
But you gotta have. But so I'm talking to the brothers that's actually watching the broadcast, and you know what? I shouldn't actually be talking to the brothers that's actually watching the broadcast. It's the ones that's not even on YouTube. That's the thing about it. Like, for instance, Jedi Mike, he said his dad was born in 59. Jedi Mike is 23, so that means he was born in 98. So 98, 50, so 38 years. So his dad had him at age 38. Yeah. So there's almost a 40-year difference. Now, I remember begging people when I was just 20 years ago, begging everybody to get an email address. Begging people just to get an email address. And so right now you got a situation where there's brothers that's my age that's having young kids, and there's a digital divide. Like we was talking about, Banter is probably a gamer. He makes beats, but is this Pops tapped into, can he communicate with him on the same level? It's important that older gentlemen, and this is for the fellas that's watching the show, it's important that you be able to communicate and have a lot of times you always want to say, look, you need to come to me. You need to come to me. I'm the OG around here. You need to come talk to me. And these kids ain't trying to check you like that. They're not checking for you to come make sure they come talk to you, especially if you've already been there and done that. Sometimes you got to go down and talk to them. It's important that you be able to speak their language. You got to be able to assimilate and be able to communicate with these youngsters. You know what I'm saying? As I tell everybody, I said, big OGs is 40 years old and older. The little OGs are in their 30s, and the youngsters is 20 and younger. So if you're a big OG and you want to talk to the youngsters, you got to be able to communicate with the youngsters. If you don't even know anything about YouTube, if you don't know anything about gaming, if you don't know nothing about social media, you don't understand who NBA Youngboy is. Why do I know who NBA Youngboy is? I know he's been in jail. I know about the guy. I don't necessarily listen to his music, but I track him. But it's important for me to know that kind of stuff so I can tap in with the youngsters so I can speak their language. Yeah. But it's so many older cats that just not even interested, but they want the youngsters to listen at them, and that's not how it works. Yeah. So there's a digital divide that a lot of older people need to break down. I ain't saying that you got to be young, but you got to think young, and you got to have a young spirit so you'll be able to communicate with them, and then they will open up to you. I know RJR said he's having issues with his 16-year-old just listening to OGs, but are the OGs coming and listening at him? Are they finding out what he's interested in, and are they speaking his language? That's super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think I do more talking than listening. So like I'm definitely taking notes, and I appreciate this this knowledge, because it's kind of hard for us to really understand. And I know it's kind of hard for me because I was raised a certain way. So how I was raised, I'm trying to carry that on. And I wouldn't even say I was raised too much, because I wouldn't even say that my grandfather, he just taught me how to be the man in the house. Everything else I kind of learned on my own. But I just kind of looked at everybody else around me and what they mothers and fathers were doing. And I just kind of just basically just doing the same exact thing. I wanted to ask you guys about discipline because the OGs come from a place where we use belts, extension cords, and so forth. Have you guys? I want to ask you guys that because I don't want to incriminate your parents, but
Yes.
I got my ass.
I got
I'ma
receipts.
I'm gonna just
Okay.
say
I got my
yes.
ass beat.
Look,
I got
you didn't
receipts.
you didn't ask it, so I'm gonna just say yes, so you know what's
Okay,
going
okay,
on. Yeah,
okay.
it's popping over here.
now,
Yeah.
do you think that works for most of the youth, or do you think that the OGs need to learn how to just talk to them?
That again, there's processes and progress and steps when it comes to any relationship. So there has to. I don't disagree with that action. I just think it should stop at a certain age. I shouldn't be 18 and you talking about let me go get the belt with the holes in it. Are you crazy? Like at this point, I'm benching 225. If we really want to go there, if I was disrespectful, I would take it there.
Right.
But again, there's gotta be a an acknowledgement of individuality. There's gotta be a level of understanding and knowing your child and knowing what's next. So, when I was 12, he started having talks about, well, beforehand we had talks about sex, but he just knew for the most part, most men go through a progression that we all kind of agree with. Middle school was wild out here. I ain't gonna cap. People was doing some crazy stuff in the bathroom, in the classroom. We're like, what are we doing? So my father knowing my age and what grade I'm in, he was able to talk to me like, what's going on? What are you seeing? Because I know what we was doing. There's progression. So the same thing applies with that. There needs to be a level of physical discipline because there needs to be some form of reprimand. Like at least I believe so, because that's what I was raised on and it worked and I understood it. I don't think you should just whoop your child out of anger. There should be some explanation. And that's what he did. I'm doing this because you did this. These are the consequences to your action. And if you don't want this to happen again, if you don't want the pain on your behind no more, you probably shouldn't do that anymore. But as long as you keep doing this, guess what's gonna happen? Your right cheek and your left cheek gonna always be hurting.
Right.
Yeah. How's that timeout working for y'all?
What
Man,
time?
what?
What time?
How's timeout? Go stand in the corner.
Man,
To the parent.
you seen them shows. You seen them shows where the kid go to timeout and just yell at his mom and say explicit words. You like,
Yeah.
and the first thing everybody that's on
Stand in
this
the corner.
panel, everybody on this panel comes from a certain background and culture. The first thing we say is, boy, if that was my kid.
Go stand in the corner.
Right. Yeah. Nah, but no, on that note, talking about like the discipline, like because my dad, also he said like, listen, I'm beating you right now, so the police won't have to 20, 15 years from now. That's the thing. But now I was never like really a problem child or anything like that. But like no, he got me. I remember it. Like I still remember to this day. He got me one good time, right? But also even then, when certain things like not even just like him, putting hands on me, whatever. I'll give you this story. One time I was doing something stupid. I was riding, I was at the park or something like that. I did some stupid whatever, and I fell and I scraped my knee. Right, it was bleeding. Now my dad would drive him home. Came back. Our house is right next to close to the school or playground we go play. Right, he pulled over. He saw me. What happened? I'm on the ground crying. All my friends around me there, and then he checked me. He's like, "You good?" Like, what? I told him what happened. And he's like, "All right, that's what you get, right?" But then it's what happened. Now, our house is just like a block or two away. Did he let me get in the car and put my bike in the trunk
Nope.
and we drove back? No.
No.
I got my bike with my bloody knee and I rode my bike back to the house. Now my mom was livid, but I knew today why he did what he did. Because now I realize I'm a lot tougher than I think. That back then I know I'm a lot tougher than I think I am. Because a lot of things I can take, things like letting me actually get that burn. Don't touch the stove, you get burn. No, let it burn. I hope let it get a scar. the way you remember. But not knowing that, hey, listen, you're still kicking, you still here, you can endure. So not knowing that when you get at least some type of wound or attack as a man, which that is a guarantee you're going to get in this walk of life, that you're able to endure that and not lose your not to be unstable and to fall down when you endure that as a child. But look at the famous movies out here, like look at a 300. Look at the Spartans when they were they're being raised and fired. They were kicking their asses as kids, and stuff,
Yeah.
beating them, but not
And
knowing
we don't
that.
need to send them out to the wilderness in the snow to go fight a war.
Right. But
But listen, Jedi. Did you hear the key word? And this is what I want the women that's watching the King Talk to pay attention to. Jedi said, "My mom was livid." Dad said, "Oh, you scraped your knee? Yeah, you shouldn't have been doing that trick on the bike. Oh no, you're not throwing the bike in the trunk. You ride on back the way you did with the bloody knee. We'll clean that up when we get to the house." Mom said, "What the hell?" Mom was livid. But this is the reason why it's important to have fathers around, because if we have a community of 80% of us are single parent homes, by and large, women are running the homes. There's no dad around. And then next thing you know, the mother goes to the park and sees the boy skin up his knee, and she freaks out and she babies him, and oh my God, and here, come on, get in the car, and here, put the bike in the trunk, and I'll take you home. And she does what's natural to her. See, I expect women to do this. You guys are natural nurturers. That's what you do. You know what I'm saying? It's all about taking care. But sometimes men need to be there to give that balance. If there's no balance and it's all nurturing, then guess what you just raised? You raised a guy who's going to expect, number one, his woman to baby him. He's going to expect his woman to baby him the way his mom did. Number two, he's going to be unemployable. He's going to go to a job, and the moment that he runs into some adversity, the moment that his boss talks to him to make him feel a certain way, there's no safe spaces at a lot of these jobs out here. You get that shit in college, but you're not going to get that in the workforce. Ain't no room you can go to sit down and calm down. You're going to get it like you're going to get it from your boss. And oftentimes these people snap, and boys don't know, men specifically don't know how to navigate that when the women are so nurturing and caring. And oh my God, dads are important, because his mom, Jedi Mike's mom, freaked out when she realized that. But dad was like, look, I got this. I got this. You heard Banter say, listen, when he was 8 years old, his dad said, I need you to be with me. I want to raise you with me so I can teach you how to be a man. A lot of people call this toxic masculinity. I don't believe in that term, toxic masculinity. It is only masculinity. Get rid of that toxic shit. That was created just to add more division between us. Men are men, and that's the way we are. So I want you guys to pay attention to that part where Jedi said his mom was livid, but Pop still made him do what he needed to do. And Jedi appreciates that today, and it's helped him become the man that he is. Think about that when you guys are not letting dad come see the kid, or using the court system as a weapon, or there's no visitation, or you making it hard for the man to see his father, the boy to see his father. It's going to backfire on you later on. Trust me.
Yeah, I want to add on to that. Just don't even worry about the money. If he want to see his child and he ain't got the money, okay. At least he's showing up and he's trying to be a father. It's not always about the money. Hey, Jed, I know you had a few questions for us. You go ahead and ask them.
Got you. So, my question, as you saying that, what's one thing that on the older generation saying that, well, we can learn, where you can learn from us and stuff, and what areas that you guys have failed. But what I guess you just say, I mentioned in terms of our end, that for men that who wants to be better and wants to be the man, the full man and stuff, that not just being complacent, but wants to take that initiative to be a whole man. What do you think that today you see like youngins guys like failing at on a consistent basis? You say they're not getting it, on terms of being a fully developed male on our generation.
For me, to be honest, by and large, listening to you brothers talk, like y'all get it. Y'all get it. You guys talked about discipline. You talked about consistency. You talked about having a roadmap for your life, right? The challenge where I see, because I deal with a lot of like high school age youth and young men in particular, and middle school young men. And the challenge is they don't see anything bigger than rapper, entertainer, athlete. They see nothing outside of that. And they put all of their energy and effort into achieving that. And if you're gonna rap, man, you don't want to go the Drake route, you don't want to go the Logic route, right? You don't want to go the cerebral route, you want to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? So that means you got to pack your toolie and bust your gun, and you don't want to get caught lacking, or you got to have a blicky, you know what I'm saying, or that pole or whatever, right? And so for me, it's more or less the young bloods not being able to separate the entertainment from real life, although they're quick to say repeatedly, "Oh, it's just entertainment. It's just the music doesn't affect me. The NBA young boys don't affect me at all. The Uzi verses, it's all good." Like, nah, Uzi Vert got you painting your fingernails black and wearing dresses. Young Thug, like, hey man. So that's just my quick observation of it. That's what I would say with this generation of young men.
Yeah, I would say that I think like a lot of young dudes take older dudes' advice with a grain of salt. I think the hardest thing to do with a young dude is get them to actually listen to you, and especially if you ain't got no money or you ain't reached no crazy amount of success. Like that's how it is in the hood. Like they only listen to people that's driving up in their Benz, or they only listen to people that got so much money in their account, or that they know balling, or they know getting to it. But at the end of the day, like you can learn from everybody. Even a bum on the street can give you some advice that you could use and apply in your life that may push you further than he was able to get to. But it's a jewel in experience alone. And I think a lot of young dudes just disregard that, because I ain't gonna lie, when I was growing up, I did the same thing. My pops tried to give me advice, or like some older dudes, and they would try to give me advice, and I listen, but I'm like, man, you from a different time, bro. Like you're not out here right now. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, as I got older, and I think back to the things that they was telling me, it's like, damn, he was right. Even if everything he was saying wasn't applying, I could pull about 3 or 4 things from that, and I can apply it to my life, and it could actually help me. You know what I'm saying? So I think the hardest thing to do with young dudes is just getting them to listen to you, man.
You know what's another thing that's important that I've noticed that's almost like it's very contagious is emotions.
That's my next question.
Oh my God, y'all youngsters is emotional, man. I explained, like I think I mentioned this before. I did a podcast that was talking about what men 40 years old, 40 years and older need to do to become a zaddy, right? That was the name of the podcast. One of them was cool, calm, and collective, the 3 C's, cool, calm, and collective. But that's not necessary in your 40s. You need to have that right off rip. You need to have it in your 20s. And so too often, the youngsters is emotional, and you guys are reacting almost like women. And it's bothersome to me when I see it. I'll give you an example. I had a nephew call me up. It's a nephew that wanted to get into construction. I took him to Home Depot 2 years ago before the pandemic. Dropped a bunch. I didn't spend a lot. I spent like $500 on tools so he can get through his school. Right. After that, I never heard nothing else. I don't know if he graduated. I don't know if he finished. I don't know what happened to the tools. Right. I saw him. Of course, he's my nephew. We see him, but I didn't hear anything else. And I wasn't the one to really ask him. Fast forward to about a month ago, he wants to get back into construction. I didn't know he ever left. And he's like, Unc, I need to get some tools so I can get, start doing what I need to do to get on these job sites. And my mind was, okay, cool. I'm gonna give him $1,000 to go to Home Depot. But before I go, I'm gonna ask him about them last tools that I just bought. So I was like, okay, so he's like, Unc, I need some help with I kind of like they got me assisting, but I can't start doing my own parts on the job because I don't have my own power tools and I need a few things. And I was just wondering if you could help me out. So I was like, okay, well, yeah. But I didn't say that to him. I just wanted. So what happened to the last tools? So you got your hand out again. You want me to help you out, and I don't know. I didn't get a return on my last investment. Now I have been talking to my sister about where he's going, so I already knew where he was going, and I was going to help him out. But soon as I mentioned that to him, okay, well, all right then, all right, well, it's cool. I'll talk to you later. And it's like, oh, okay, so you didn't want? Okay, no problem. You don't want this grand that I was going to lay on you. Then he came back. Oh, I didn't know you was going. And it's like, wait a minute, man, what are you talking about? So you just got emotional with me because I'm asking you about what you did with my money that I invested in you 2 years ago, and you coming back and asking me again, and you don't think that I have any place in asking you what happened to that last 500 that I just dropped you on tools, and now you want me to drop another 1,000 on the best DeWalt or Milwaukee tools that you want? I'm gonna make you look dope and go and get all the best stuff at your job, but I can't even ask and the fact that I'm even inquiring, you get all emotional and you want to hang up in my face. That's something that wouldn't happen in my generation. And I think it's as a result of a lot of men being raised by women. But whatever it is, we need to get that shit under control. You guys got to get the youngsters, you got to get these emotions under control. You got to be cool, calm, and collective in your 20s. Be able to effectively communicate to people and not just go off the rails, just real quick. That's wild to me. So I think that's one thing that me as an OG looking down at the youngsters saying that that's an issue, and that's going to be a problem for you throughout life if you don't get that under control sooner than later.
I think I kind of want to add on to that, and you kind of touched a little bit what I'm about to speak on, and it's the energy. It's the energy that you guys allow in, and especially with the music nowadays. I mean, you got a lot of these guys that's making these songs about being depressed, about being sad, and doing drugs. It's like, this is what our future is. Now, granted, I'm not saying the rap music was fantastic back in the day. You know, we were talking about other things, but I'm just seeing this trend. You know, even when my son just listening to, like, all the music that I'm hearing is this singing and, you know, being sorry and sad and just gloomy in a dark cloud. And then while you're doing, you're sipping on this lean and doing everything else, and you're just so high and just you know, it's like wake up. You know, like, you have to be able to understand that the energy that you are listening to is bringing your spirits down, that it's like hindering you, it's taking you down this dark and gloomy path. So that's one of the things that I'm seeing that the youth seem to be gravitating to, that I wish they would understand, that it's not the space that you want to be in, that it is better to get out and experience life, try new things, take some risks, take some good risks, not bad risks, but just enjoy life.
And Jay, you know what I think it stemmed from, bro? I think it stemmed from just the information being so readily available. Like, people, like our generation, I know for sure got more information than any generation before us has ever had. And it's at a young age. And it's a gift and a curse. Because it's like, okay, on one end, you got a lot of information and we can use it for good. On another end, you got a lot of information, and, you know, it kind of like, it's more of like a ignorance is bliss kind of thing. Like back in the day, say for instance, with relationships, right? You wasn't constantly aware of how many options you had, or you wasn't constantly comparing yourself to what you see on your phone. Like, people literally spend 8 to 9 hours a day on their phone. And that's on social media. That's me comparing my house to their house, or my car to his car. You know, the girls I'm talking to this girl that went to go get a BBL and all kinds of shit. So it's like you constantly comparing yourself. It's like an overload of information. And that causes you to be, you know, depressed if you don't put it in context. And context meaning that when you're looking at social media, you're looking at people's highlight reels, and you comparing it to your real life every day. I think that's where the depression comes from. But like generations before, it's like my pops tell me all the time. He said, y'all got way too much shit. And what he mean by that is, it's like, oh, wait, you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube? Damn, yeah, that's just too much shit. You know what I'm saying? And what they mean by that is that, like, back then they didn't have to worry about that. Like what was going on in the streets, or what was going on like right around you, it was way more condensed than what it is now. But now, shit, you can open your phone and know what's going on in another country, as far as maybe a tragedy that just happened, or, like I said, you just in constant comparison mode. And I think that feeds that depression, because you literally feel like, damn, I'm not doing enough. Even when I'm doing good things, I'm not doing enough.
But you know, one thing I keep hearing that keeps coming up, and I think it does tie in with what JR is saying, is that these son husbands that's being raised in these single mother households.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, go ahead, speak on it, Dan Banner, because I'm really listening to y'all tonight. So go ahead, speak on it, bro.
Man, I don't. Men, people have always been playing catching up with the Joneses since there's been things to have. That I don't know if that's necessarily. I can agree to some extent that the excessiveness, can play a bigger part. But when you start putting certain pressures on boys that don't have men to show them how to be men, that's the reason why manhood and childhood is two different things, is because it's two different life experiences. I wouldn't dare say at 14 or 15 that I would be able to deal with the social, psychological, physical, or mental pressures that come from a single parent household, because there's a lot of reliance on it. It's like I'm the only man here. You're telling me that I'm the man of the house, but you're also my authority figure. You're confusing me. Not only are you confusing me, but I'm not having luck with women because they view me as weak. And now that they view me as weak, and every time they break up with me, I don't know what to look to, because I look at women as my quote unquote thing. That's my thing. That they're the ones that coddle me. They're the ones that hold and love me. So when I don't get acceptance from that, and I deal with men, and men like Shannon is going, bro, you can't be weak, then I feel like I'm neglected on both ends, and that's not the case. The issue is emotions is not the issue. It's the regulation of emotion that's the problem. There is no regulation. There's no, there's time for this and there's time for that. It's either I'm always emotional or I'm not. And it's like, as a man, I've learned that you have to be in control of the things that you do, which includes the things that aren't necessarily tangible, which would be your emotions, your thoughts. I'm sure that most men on this panel can say I've thought about things that are depressing, but I also know what resiliency is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, it's one of those things.
Yeah. On that note, I just want to kind of give a story, because like Shannon was speaking a lot of good things, and too about the emotional aspect. 'Cause I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I have not been, because I'm saying, like I said, in spaces where when dad is out there a lot working, and the little boy obviously not somewhere, he's with the home with the mother. I guess to a point where in that age where JR is saying around that 16, 15 or 17 age range, that's when you start to see things where all those emotional aspects, especially when high school starts to come up. Middle school, you get a preview of it, but high school, that's when you actually see, oh, well, this is actually the problem. So, for example, when we talk about the emotion reactionary responses, like, I don't know, my name is Jedi Mike, but I do believe in certain things you must unlearn what you have learned. Where thinking that, oh, I must be reactionary, I must, whatever, and not be staying calm. Because one thing my dad, what he always did was, one time he took me out fishing. I plan on that's our thing. We go out fishing. Now I don't know anybody who ever caught a fish when they threw out in the railing and kept doing this. Whatever. It's talking about being a patient spirit is better than a proud spirit, right? Talking about that, saying that patience and being steady, making sure you're being calm. So when you do get that nibble, then you know how to to engage and assert yourself to know that, hey, that fish ain't going nowhere because I got him, right? But the thing with that, I cannot be moving that fishing rod, because either I'm scared, or even as when at the age where that fishing rod was bigger than me, right? Where I had to hold on to it, right? And making sure I was steady and able to pull out that fishing rod and able to get that fish. So I think on that note, when we're saying we're not being close to reaction, especially even the mothers would like, and sometimes without the father being, the mothers like to initiate that emotion to it, like almost do they know the trigger points, right? Where they try like, tease you, stuff like that. Like one thing that always gave me upset where my mom, like, and I love my mom, and as I'm talking about this, I know I gave reactions about what she did, but this is just in women's nature. Like this is not like, oh, all women, like certain women are like this. This is what happens. But she make jokes like every time she get annoyed, like, man, you talking just like your daddy. You acting just like your daddy, whatever. But yet, okay, I always keep saying that. But then I remember every time when someone broke, she immediately just resort to, hey, just give it to your father, whatever. So regardless of how much you might at some time when she just complain, which happens, from time to time, that's just in her nature that she would resort back to. So on point, I knew that, you know what, I'm not even gonna argue with you, because I just know, like, you know what, and when it comes to flight or flight responses where you're like, okay, cut the BS, cut the emotion, whatever. When it's time to react, to respond, and man's presence has to be there, it will be there if it is there, hence my father being there. So that's what I was saying, that in terms of the cultivation of the father to the son, teaching about emotional control, steadiness, being, patient, not being quick to anger, and also not being quick to react. That's also a life-saving thing. It's like, because people die from this, be trying to react quickly. I mean, in many stories, you guys probably might, older than me will know, just because just one slip, they, quick to react, especially in a military warfare. Tell me a sniper being jittery and mess like that. No.
Yeah, so I just want to add just a little bit to it. I agree with you, Jedi Mike, for sure. And I think this ties into last week's conversation about being vulnerable and also being transparent. Again, these things are full circle when it comes to the reason why you'll have somebody like Anton say, don't tell your chick nothing. Because you have to know, as an individual man, you have to know and be responsible for your outcomes and actions. And the problem with today's society is the lack of masculinity is causing hypermasculinity, where you feel like you have to prove yourself every other time. And it's not necessarily true. I've gotten into plenty of fights, not because I started them, but because I had to defend myself because somebody just was being too emotional. And like Jedi Mike was saying, being emotional is a life-changing event. It can change for the good or for the bad. Being passionate about certain things. Michael Jordan is emotional in the sense of he's passionate about his sport and his craft, which led him to be dedicated and led him to always practice on it. Same thing with Kobe Bryant. He was passionate about that. But if you want to reverse or flip it in another way, those men could have been terrible things. There's two things that's more that's the dangerous thing on the planet is an emotional man and a woman. And the reason why I say woman is because she can say something that will make you be that emotional man. And she can also be the person that could help. Every time you look at scripture, if you read or not, there's always a woman involved for the downfall. With Samson, it was Delilah. With Adam, it was Eve. But guess whose responsibility was at the end of the day? Exactly. So
yeah,
it's one of those things, and I think we saw a very good visual aid of what can sometimes words get under you and you get upset because Chicago. Look, man, Chicago really that man. I like it when that, but sometimes you gotta put your foot down.
That's passionate, brother. That's passionate. That ain't
bruh.
But passion is an emotion. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's negative.
No, I'm just messing with you. Go ahead, young blood. Let me hear it. I want to hear this breakdown.
I know when a man say, "What are we talking about?" It's like you can't be this unaware about what you're saying and what you're doing. You can't. It's no way you can do that. And this is so when I saw that, immediately I thought about, well, my mom does that to me sometimes. And my girl, she'll read into things that's not there. And so I got to deal with that and be calm and collected. Because if I blow up, guess who in trouble?
Right.
Me. It's crazy. It's so it's trash. I ain't gonna cap. Being a man sometimes trash. But it's part of the game. It's also good being able to provide and know that I'm doing it for whoever I care for. It's also good is somebody looking for me to guidance. All those things come with it. There's pros and cons to everything. I just thought it was funny. That's all.
Yeah. That goes to my next question. Was on, you talk about the emotional part, but also with just terms of discussions and conversation with women. And this is why I praised you guys about with this platform, was that I've seen so many times, obviously, right? Well, we have panelists to come on when we get into he debates, some certain women and also men too, say things that now you can say that try to stir the narrative conversation, and especially when you're debating on a particular topic, they just try to attack the character instead of attack the point or whatever. And on that note, just trying to gain authority of the conversation or acting like they're winning, but really you're just deflecting and trying to put us in the corner. Just the way that you don't know that you actually are losing in this argument. And so my question to you, one thing I can, like, us, the younger generation, learn is that how can you, I don't say practice over time, but in a way that's like, how do you work on that ability to be a better conversator with women in terms of when it gets into those heated debates and keeping yourself calm and cool, collective, in order for you to have a productive solution and also get to where you're going or mend the peace, because the conflict is coming. That's a guarantee.
And be honest, bro, you got to just learn how to see through the noise, because all of that is noise. Like, women are great arguers. Like, they are some of the most argumentative people, but they have it down to a science, because just like you said, most men, we gonna speak factually. And once it leaves factually, we're gonna get quiet. You start getting too loud, you get emotional. It's like, okay, this is leaving my purview. But women are so good at like making emotion, like being as passionate about emotion as if it was fact, that it kind of throws us off balance. And then a lot of times, like, because we care about her, or because we love her, like we talk about relationships, like you'll end up diving in that water with her so much to where it'll turn around. You be done forgot the point that you was trying to make. And then, now she feeling like she won the argument. So my advice would be, bro, you just got to learn how to see through the noise, stick to the damn game plan, as my coach would say. If you got to go into the argument with notes and dots and your shit that you wanted to say and we wanted to get off your chest in the argument, you do what you got to do. Because some women are talented to where you may have to do that. You may have to glance back at your phone. Yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying. But like I was saying about when you left the microwave up, like sometimes it's just necessary, bro. But just stick to your guns.
Mm-hmm.
Say what you got to say. And when they get to that emotional shit, let them have that. That's what they good at.
Look at what you got to do to communicate.
Look at what you got to do. You got to bring notes.
No,
I'm not the lead attorney. What am I doing?
Right,
Exactly.
Bro, some
Master
women are
communicator.
good, bro.
Oh.
Like, they are very good.
So look, there's two things and then the solution. One, a great man once told me women will drive you to drink and then call you a drunk. It always stuck with me. Women will drive you to drink and then call you a drunk. So I always stick with that. That great man's brother told me, go wash your car. When she pushes those buttons, just go wash your car. That way you'll calm down. But here's the solution to all of this. And it's a term that I picked up here in these YouTube streets from BGS. I got it from Kevin Samuels. I learned it was BGS that coined it. Sign language. So you're saying, like, the heat is coming, and the arguments are coming. And as Trill said, that you'll need to be able to kind of navigate it when it comes. One of the best ways to navigate it is to not figure out how to combat each individual argument, because it's going to come from you from so many. It's going to be so many different topics. It's going to be so many different reasons. If you understand sign language, which stands for shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. Right. We always tell young men specifically, to avoid women who need to be right. The fourth one is the worst. Just don't even deal with a woman who needs to be right. Right. Shame, insults, and guilt is going to come from all women. If you got one that needs to be right, get rid of her as soon as you possibly can. That's my advice. But if you can identify the first three, shame, insults, and guilt, know that is the reason why most men blow up in arguments. When you see a drag down argument, a fight, somebody's punching a hole in the drywall, and guys, it's usually because there was some shame, an insult, or some kind of guilt put on him from the person that he's arguing with. If you can identify and realize that when you hear shame and let it roll off your back, when you get insulted about something, like, well, that's why you can't put it down in the bedroom, or that's why your dick is little.
Jada. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's facts.
Whatever it is. Whenever you get insulted, ignore it. Whenever you get guilted into something, well, see, that's why my last boyfriend used to. You can't, but I say that you can't. If you know how to identify the shame, insults, and the guilt, then you will be cool, calm, and collected in most all arguments. That is the cheat sheet, fellas. I'm giving you the cheat sheet. Learn how to identify shame, insults, and guilt, and then anything that comes your way, it'll slide off like Teflon. You'll be like, man, I ain't even tripping. And that right there is where you win. You lose when you blow up, and you lose when you lose your cool, calm, and collectiveness. You maintain that when you know what's coming at you, and then you can see it when it's coming. But if you react to it, then you lost. So I tell youngsters to always pay attention to the sign language. I used to say something else, but now I got the acronym, I'm just using that. When you can identify shame, insults, and guilt coming your way, when you're in an argument or a conflict or a dispute with a woman, then you are guaranteed to come out victorious at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
And oh, go ahead.
And I just want to kind of add on to it too. I don't think men understand how much respect a woman loses when you matching that energy. You know, you cannot be sitting there going back and forth. Imagine going back and forth, and then it's just that moment of silence. In that moment of silence, I guarantee you, she's probably thinking like, "What a fuck boy." You know what I'm saying? Because a woman is supposed to be able to, like, you're supposed to be that safe space. You know, she's the one that's panicking. You're supposed to be the one that's grounded, that's calm. So when you match an energy going back and forth, what does that say about you? What does that say about you? That means you have a weak mind. That means you just lost all of the control. And eventually she's going to get fed up. She's going to get fed up. Arguing with a woman every single day, every other day about every little thing. She's going to wind up moving on. And then also too, just like Shan said, when it's coming to you, you got to slow everything down. Just slow everything down. Understand that she's having one of these emotional episodes, right? And there has been times where you can just sit there, listen, and be so calm and be like, yeah, okay, all right, okay, well. And then you just kind of walk away. And you can sometimes catch a woman looking at you, looking for you to argue or looking for you to say something back. And you just have so much control that you don't say nothing, where they feel like the fool.
They hate that.
You know, they almost looking at you like, you ain't got nothing to say? Nah, it's cool. It's cool.
That's crazy because it's funny.
I mean, literally every aspect of a man's life. I tell people, slow everything down. I have so much stuff coming to me all the time. I just slow it down, because if you don't slow it down, then you're going to react emotionally. So you have to slow it down, bring it down to your pace. Watch this unfold. Like it's like watching a movie. You're looking at it like, look at this motherfucker right here. It's crazy as hell. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. You listen to me? Yeah, I hear you. And then you know what to say? I mean, you said what you said already. Okay. You know?
But the thing is, they'll complain that you detached. Almost. See, here's the thing. Like I
don't care what the hell. I don't care. Look, fuck that. Don't open up to no damn woman. Don't start pouring your heart. Don't come home complaining about how your job is and about how you know these motherfuckers getting on my nerve. Don't believe that bullshit. I think we had discussions about that. I'd rather take my chances on not saying nothing, keeping it to myself, hollering at my boys or something like that before I go home, and if they're crying and complaining about that. Let's understand, we are humans, right? We do have emotions, but I always say it's just matter just getting them in check. Just keep them in check. Keep them in check. You know when to. You know, if you need a moment to yourself, then go do that. But what you do not want to do is to appear to be this weak man whining about everything, and you don't have no control. Your mind not strong. You got to have discipline in every aspect of your life. Emotions, big discipline. You know, like it's a whole lot of things you got to have. It's hard out here because we human. But I think you have to understand and take this knowledge that we're giving you right now, and you just got to do it. At some point in time, you just have to do it. It's better to be on that side than the emotional side.
Another thing is checking your ego, because that's the skill that women have. Like we think that they so great at arguments. Nah, they just pay attention to detail, and they know most men are ego driven. So your woman is gonna know, because you talk and because women actually listen. She gonna know the small things to say. She don't got to say nothing just blatant. It's gonna be small things to say that she knows is gonna tug at that cape, tug at that ego. So if you can learn how to keep that in check, just like JR talk about your emotions in check and all that, but your ego, don't let her toy puppet string your ego. That's when you get into the yelling matches and the whatever, because she get to talking about your sex, she get to talking about your money, which is the main thing. Like, if you look, because it's the same with dudes arguing with each other. Like, what's the main thing dudes go to? One, you don't get no hoes. Two, you don't get no money. and do you be ready to kill somebody over that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like women do that and some, because she know personal things that you done told her, which is why, you know, it's so hard for men to open up to women, which is another discussion for another part. But keep your ego in check and you're going to be okay. There's no place in a relationship for ego. I say that all the time, and that's one of the reasons why.
I'm gonna just say this, and then we're gonna get to you, Jedi. Like one of my favorite sayings that if they just keep at it, I'd be like, even with men, like, what's your angle? What is your angle? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, what is your goal? Because I'm not gonna argue with you. So, what's your angle?
That
Go ahead, Jedi. Go ahead.
That another example that I thought about was when Anton did that with Hannibal or Peanut Butter or Buttercup. He asked his motive, right? And so he knew, because that's the thing. That's another thing about men. We don't get credit for being intelligent, you know, outside of just creating things. We're emotional intelligent too. We can read the room. That when that man said, "Why are you here? What is your purpose for coming here?" and he just said it, it was just like, "You right, JR. Like, you on fire, man. Yeah, round of applause. You know, sound effect. Hit the button." No.
That was the wrong one, man. I had these pistachios in my hand.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Jedi.
No, but yeah, not going to. That's the whole point. When I was talking about that, it's better to be transparent than to be vulnerable with them. Like I said, that anything that you'll say, anytime you're unstable, they're going to use that against you. Even and also, men do this too. Even to your enemy, they can tell. I mean, what thing when you're trying to study, keep your friends, keep friends close, your enemies closer. What they study? They study when you have your guard down. When they do, that's what they're gonna initiate. But this is how two different things, because men, we can be naturally inclined to be more intimidators, but women are more tend to be more manipulators, right? So what happened is that they'll try to get their way in terms of snaring or whatever in a conversation. In terms of when they knowing the feeling that either they're, because everybody has ego, but when their ego feels threatened or something like that, then eventually what happened is like, well, okay, I remember, oh yeah, you lost your job 2 weeks ago. I was like, well, I wouldn't be stressed out, but you would have, right, exactly. It's just another thing, and like I said, men can do this too. But I'm saying this conversation here, like, as a man, is like we cannot afford to be foolish. Women can't afford to be foolish. Children can be afford to be foolish. We can't. We can't afford to be foolish. Because like I said, when we are foolish, when we are unstable and we're uncertain, you die. Like as terms of women and children, people that we're supposed to be covering. And that's why I emphasize this conversation here, that especially when it gets into those heated debates. I especially say with my girl, like, I learned how to operate my girl because of my mother. And like I said, it's just nature. It's gonna come. It's not like, I mean, yes, you can say it might be outliers and saints or whatever like that, but that's inherently, as just a man, it's gonna happen when you're in a relationship with a woman. But in order for you to able to hold in terms of more masculine frame and not resort to that unstable mindset, and then you're gonna keep that control, and she'll notice that. But because at the point of in the conversation, when we get kind of heated arguments, when you're keeping your cool, that's even self is some form of communication. Because like I said, the nonverbal thing of holding your frame is communicating to you like, hey, I know what you're doing. You can go up here. I'm still staying here. You're acting like you're controlling the situation. You can talk louder, but it ain't gonna be like that. That's and with that, it's like, wow, okay. Whether they might get angry at that moment when they started thinking about, he hold his frame. He hold his frame. How many men today are holding their frame when they're getting conflicts?
It's real, which is why it's so dangerous, man, because like women don't have limits in arguments. Like they can literally say what they want, but they know that we not gonna say nothing that's gonna, like, because we know how fragile their emotions are and how fragile they just are as people in general. So like even when we get mad, we'll like catch ourselves. A lot of times we'll start to say, well, you know what, man, never mind. Let me just walk away. But women don't have that limit. They gonna go. Like if they in the emotional phase and they feel like, they go. If I gotta say something that's gonna cut the deep as I possibly can, they can say it and there ain't no consequences for it.
Modern women,
because they know that we ain't gonna go. Yeah, but that's just real. It don't be consequences. But
bananas.
Yeah, man, if we can say something as small as, damn, baby, that dress getting a little tight, and we got to hear about that for the next 2 years. because it could. You know what I'm saying? So they know that we careful with them, which is why they feel so comfortable just saying whatever, because they know that they're not gonna hear it back in most cases, and that shit is not fair, bro.
Banana split, man. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what I'm saying? Banana split.
Banana split. That low level threat of violence is not there for women today. It's nice. They're nice and protected at all angles. So they use everything that they have to push you to the limit.
All right, Jedi, you got some more questions for us? Oh, what's that?
Now, on that note, what is this mindset thinking that you could go into depression? Because it is men's mental health awareness month, whatever, saying that these songs that promoting that, and men thinking like, okay, they'll accept, they'll be complacent in a life of mediocrity, right? Where we just think of in a way, whereas today as men, they don't strive to be ambitious, right? And I think that, in my personal opinion, I think, an ambitionless man, I think is a lost man. He's not really striving to be greater than where he was yesterday. That's my personal opinion. So my question is to you, what is your perspective on terms of men remaining like for example, we had that situation with the men, with the woman that I forgot her name, that Kevin Samuels was talking to, the one that's smoking weed all day, and I forgot her name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Kai, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the husband, as you know, you were talking about JR, like if he was here, you would say the same thing, like how can you accept a man, a man can just accept just smoking weed and day while wife going out working and everything like that. And why is that? I question is why is I propose that question out to you guys. Why you think that complacency is there? And also, how do you break that?
So the show that you're talking about is where Kevin was saying that the guy is he's not a producer male. Everybody's not going to be a producer male. Everybody wants to be alpha. Like, remember the show I did where I talked about this, there's not just alpha and beta males. There's alpha, beta, gamma, delta, sigma, and omega type personalities. And everybody's not going to be a producer male. And so the woman that called in was complaining because she wrecked her family. She divorced her man simply because she said that he was a house husband. Yet that was the nature of their relationship. He was supposed to be a house husband, and he was there to raise the children. And when the children got of a certain age, he was chilling like many housewives do. And so Kevin was like, well, wait a minute. Why did you throw away the relationship at the end of after he did his job? You were the one that wanted to go get the degree. You were the one that wanted to go be a boss. You were the one that wanted to go, flex and go make all the money. And he stayed home, and probably played video games and kept the house clean. Right. She complained about him keeping that, he kept the house clean. He raised the kids. He took the kids to school. She said that later on, I think she started changing her story, saying that he wasn't doing all of that, but we saw through all of that. I think she was lying just to save face. But the reality is every man is not going to be a producer male, right? Every man is not going to be and have ambition or goals or have a vision for a particular thing. However, I think that's not necessarily great. I think that all males should have that. That's one of the jobs that we're here to build. We're here to problem solve and create. That's what we do. Everything that we're holding, our computers, the house that you're in was built by men. The walls that you're staring at right now, the car that you're in was constructed by men. And so men should have an ambition to do things. But if you're not that guy, that's okay. That's okay. But it's starting to become, I think it's more of a generational thing. I think somebody talked about the new generations now are laying flat. They're laying down. Everybody wants to just lay in the bed all day long. They wake up, but they don't get up. They wake up in the morning. Men are now, the young men particularly, are waking up, but not getting up. They're staying in bed because, life is easy. If you get your PPP check, if you figure out a little hustle, maybe check your crypto, you're not going anywhere and you're not doing anything. And that's fine if that's how you get down. But if you know that that's not what you want to be, I think what needs to happen, and to answer your question directly, that's a little backstory, to answer your question on what can we do to break that cycle, is to direct as many of your partners, to direct as many of your youngsters, as many of you youngsters friends to spaces like this, to the Lapeef Network. Send them over to the crew season. Send them to me so they can pay attention to this stuff. I talked to my brother last night, my bigger brother, and we was talking about his youngest son, my nephew. He said his son is on YouTube watching us. His son is maybe I think 16, and I was excited when I heard that. I said yes. Fantastic. That means his dad, that's a father and son watching these spaces. So he don't only hear it from my brother, but he also hears it from men like JR and Trill and Chicago and myself. The answer to the dilemma that you see with people just laying flat and these boys that don't have no ambition is to send them to people like me, because my message to young men, if you're 20 anything, you need to pay attention to getting the bag. And I'll talk about getting a job, going to school, becoming the best person that you could potentially be, so that when you get 30 or older, you'll be husband material. It's tough to be husband material in your 20s. I'm just sorry, it is. But if you prep and do everything that you're supposed to do in your 20s, you'll be husband material in your 30s and your 40s and beyond. So send them our way. Have them come listen to all the Lapeef Network's old videos. Have them come listen to Trill over at the crew season.
For sure.
That's the answer as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I just
sure,
make
for
sure my
sure.
question was clear when I was asking it. 'Cause that's just saying you're right about the complacency as a man, just like in our 20s getting to work. And as much as I want to be in that atmosphere, like, encourage my friends, like, look, come on, man, I don't have time to play around. But it's a choice. Again, that's the choice, but yet the path of chasing the bag, of chasing the manhood, requires, strength, endurance, and also is going to be difficult. And it's a hard choice, right? But the hardest choices require the strongest will, right? So I'm like,
Yeah, man. I
We'll
think
change their mind. Don't worry, we'll change their mind. That the choice that they have right now to be lazy and complacent is because they're being, it's a lot of effeminization going on. They're taught to be soft, and it's easy. Nobody, when I grew up, man, we wanted to drive. We wanted our license. I got my license at 15 and a half. When I was in high school, I used to go to the student parking lot and just watch the cars. We wanted to drive cars. Today, there's Uber. Kids don't even give a shit about getting a driver's license. It's weird to me. It's like, you don't even want to drive? Like, nah, why drive? I could catch an Uber. I don't even want a car. So we wanted to do certain things. And then when I got the car, I started drag racing. I started ripping the engine out, and I was building lowriders, and we was, hitting switches. We just wanted to do that kind of stuff. I've had over, I think, 70 cars in my life. But kids today, one car, maybe. But that's because there's no guidance there. There's nobody really there to show them that kind of stuff. And a lot of people my age is just kind of ignoring them and turning their backs on the youngsters. And if that's the case, by and large in the neighborhood, send them to people like us over here at YouTube. Tell them to tap in. We'll show them. We'll motivate them. If they're unmotivated, we'll motivate them. We'll show them how. Like Trill said, people only pay attention to the dude that roll up in the Benz. Today, it's got to be a Ferrari. Back in my day, it was a Benz. But everybody can get a Benz. So now, today, it got to be a Bentley or a Lamborghini. Pull them up. We'll show them the Lambos over here. We'll show them how it works and how success works over here to get them motivated. We'll fire those engines up. So that's what I'm saying.
I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think and also just to piggyback on what Shan was saying, like, I think we got to make it cool for men to be producers. The same way that we make it cool, like when we gather up as dudes, yeah, man, let's go get on these O's, man, let's go get on these whatever. But these same dudes won't say, hey, bro, let's all put in 500. Let's go buy this piece of land. Hey, bro, just gather up 1,000. Let's go buy this little building right here that we can rent out, make some money. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to make things like that cool that's actually productive to us, and not just getting together and just bullshitting, which is what a lot of us do. I think, for one, most people are followers anyway. Most people are sheep anyway, so they're looking for something to follow. So we can get the people that have some kind of influence to say, hey, look, being productive as a man is cool. Like, say for instance, around me, like, I don't even let people hang around me that's not self-sufficient, that don't have their own everything, that don't take care of their kids, which is real big to me. Like, I don't care how long I've been knowing you. Again, if you listen to my podcast, you kind of familiar with the story I done told. I had a friend I was cool with since knee high, literally elementary school all the way up to now. And he stopped, and he had a baby or whatever and just left the baby. Just went about his life for a whole year, 2 years, whatever the case may be. Halfway want to be a father here and there. But before, we don't got nothing to talk about. Like, if you're not raising your kid, like, we ain't gonna be out in the club with me popping bottles and we doing this and we doing that and going by drive these cars and take this trip here and every time I look at you, I'm gonna see deadbeat. You're not taking care of your kids. Well, like, what? How you got money to spend to be out, and you don't got money to spend on your child? You know what I'm saying? So again, it's about setting standards, making stuff cool, and standing on it. Being men, being influential. And I think if enough people do that, then we'll curb that trend of people just being lazy. Because right now, like, again, in the older generation, there was consequences to not producing. If you wasn't going out there and working, you wasn't eating. But now ain't no consequences. Like people is, I can go stay at my mama crib. I can go live off a woman and not get judged, or I can go do this, I can go do that. I don't necessarily have to do it compared to back in the day. Like if we didn't, you make no money, you didn't eat, you wasn't respected. So I think we got to bring that back, set the standard for what's cool and stand on it. Anybody that's not in line, move them out the way.
Yeah, I think one of the other reasons you talking about men who lack ambition. I'm sorry, JR, was you about to go?
No, go ahead, brother.
Okay. You're talking about men that lack ambition. I think I was listening to commentary from Chuck D of Public Enemy the other day. And he said he was talking about we're in a culture now where young men are encouraged to be boys all the way up to 35. Young men are encouraged to be boys up to 35. When I was when I hit 18, I couldn't wait to get out the house. I couldn't wait to get out of my grandma's house, right? Why? I had to go find myself. I had to become a man, right? At first I thought I wanted to do military, and I had signed up, and the only reason why I didn't make it was because I got DQ'd for eczema. And so they said, well, come back, get it cleared up, put some hydrocortisone on it, come back. I took my tail to Atlanta for 20 years. Made my way in a figure 8. So I'm with that crowd. If you go in Atlanta, I'm with that crowd that say, wherever your city is, Chicago, made me. Chicago raised me, but Atlanta made me. And so when you talk about these men that lack ambition, if I could stay at mom's house and sleep on the couch and be a son husband, and she's going to provide the groceries, and she's going to, I ain't even got to cut the grass. She's probably going to get out there and cut the grass. I ain't got to wash clothes. She's going to wash my clothes for me. What's the incentive? Right. What's the incentive?
Just pay the garden $50.
Right. For me to not only Shan, not only to produce, but to contribute, right, to society or to my neighborhood or to my community or to my family. What's the incentive? And so that's the part that we got to tackle. I think with what Trill talking about, I think is spot on. I think you're seeing in a lot of these YouTube spaces where brothers are making it cool. I follow Wall Street Trapper, right? And when I was younger, at one point I thought I wanted to be a financial advisor, right? After watching Wall Street with what's his name, Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. I thought I wanted to do like financial advising or whatever. Wall Street Trapper does it in a way, it breaks it down so simple that it makes it cool, man. And that's what we got to get to when we having these conversations. We got to make it cool for brothers to, want to get up. Goody Mob had a song. Was that Goody Mob or Outkast? Get up and get out, get something. Outkast.
Yeah, I think it's Outkast.
Yeah. Off of Southern Playalistic. Yeah, get up, get out, get something. That used to be the mantra back in my day, fam. Like that's the type of music I came up with. Like you gotta get, man. When I was growing up, you couldn't lay in the house, man. It's 6 a.m. You up. I don't care if you ain't got no place to be. Act like you got some place to be. You ain't got no job. Your job is looking for a job, right? So that's what we gotta instill those values and that messaging back into our communities and with these young bloods, man.
Okay.
And also another thing real quick, women have to take a role in this as well, because a lot of the reason that men feel like it's cool not to have to work is because there's women that's still out here entertaining them, giving them ass, doing all kind of stuff, and this man is laying on his couch every day, just like that scenario that you gave. There's no reason that you should be entertaining a man in a relationship and he's not providing anything to you. You know what I'm saying? Now, and as far as, again, if he a house husband, then that's something different. But they got women out here that literally have dudes laid on their couch playing the game all day. He ain't doing nothing but giving her sex, driving a car with other chicks in it, doing all kind of whatever, but she's still with him. She's still entertaining him, still paying for his, endeavors and all kind of shit, paying for his studio time. You're a 36-year-old rapper, ain't gonna never make like that type of shit. Stop encouraging that. And then that's gonna force dudes to get out here and do something. Because if we're gonna be honest, the number one motivation for most men to even go get money is for women. That's just what it is. But if I'm able to get a lot of women anyway, and I don't have to work, or I don't have to make no money, I can just be a bum, then what's the incentive? You know what I'm saying? So women gotta, take some accountability in that too if we're gonna change it.
Yeah. Hey, Banner, did you want to ask us something? I'm gonna get to the call, so I just want to make sure I give you your grace as well.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, where's the balance between openness with men and internal battles? So, for example, I'm prideful. That's a fault of mine. So I may be going through things and won't tell anybody intentionally because it's a test. I know that can be detrimental depending on, your mental strength, but it's still something that I think I should do. So where's the balance between that and, you know what I'm saying? I hope I'm making sense of what I'm asking. Okay.
No, you make perfect sense. I know what you're talking about. Do you have a crew? A clique, an inner circle?
Nah. I mean, I'll take that back. I made a clique. I made a study group. So when I was, since I'm in college, I created a study group. And this, I'll let them watch this too, because it's guys and girls and we get into big debates. But I would consider that my crew.
Okay. You have a crew of guys. That's men only.
For sure. Separate group chat. Totally different.
All right.
And a woman in there.
So are you the smartest one in your crew?
No, I'm not. Names don't mean anything, but there's people that I can name that I know for sure they're smarter in the sense of they know how to program. So we learned Java and Java.
What about personal life stuff? Not so much work and coding.
That's smarter than me.
If you're thinking this long, then your answers, you probably don't have one. I used to tell people, I say, man, if you're the smartest person in your crew, you need a new crew. I'm not talking about necessarily the work group, but here's the thing.
Okay.
There's a thing called mastermind groups. And so a lot of times when us men, when we have issues and we have because men have issues too, ladies and gentlemen, we have, I know you see the memes out there, the check on your strong friends because they're going through some shit as well, which is real. But oftentimes those strong friends are in their inner circle. They're the strongest one in the inner circle. So everybody's feeding on them. Everybody's a leech. And a lot of people in the chat, you guys know what I'm talking about. You're probably the smartest or the most ambitious, or, you're the leader of your pack. And everybody that needs something is always leeching on you. And hey, asking you for your advice. And you don't have anybody that you can go to. You don't have anybody that you can talk to. You don't have an outlet for yourself. So what are you forced to do? You ball it up. You ball it up and you keep it inside. You lock it inside and you just deal with it. The problem with that is over time, that's going to turn into an ulcer. Over time, that's going to wear down on you. It's going to, that mental stress is going to manifest into physical problems. And so what's important is that people go out, men particularly, is create spaces, if you don't have it, of men that you can talk to. Of course, there needs to be therapy. We could talk about therapy too, right? But aside from the therapy, from getting professional help, you need to have a collection of men that you speak with, that you can express things to, and you don't need to be the smartest one in there. You don't need to be the most accomplished one in there. You don't need to be you don't need to be the leader of that particular pack. You need to get around or create a small network of people. In fact, one of the things I'm going to be doing on my channel is I'm reading this book called A Think and Grow Rich. I'll go grab the book in a second. There's a book called Think and Grow Rich. It's a wonderful book. I encourage everybody to get it. It was written in 1925. The British version came out in 1938. It's made more millionaires than any other book in the world. In that book, in chapter 9, they talk about a mastermind group. I know it's very tough for people to get it. Now, this book, if you guys want to be a millionaire, If you do everything in this book, you'll become one. But it's tough. It's almost like a manual of things that you're supposed to do. In this particular book, and this is the one I'll be reading on my channel, chapter 9 talks about the mastermind group. That's the one that everybody fails at. Nobody can always get a dope mastermind group. I think it's cool that JR and Anton and probably some other people I don't know about, I'm sure Real is part of that, probably has a small mastermind group. Mastermind group only has to have 2 or more people, but you have to have one in order to express the problems that you keep balled up like a knot. Sometimes you can't talk to your coding friends when you guys are going through JavaScript. They don't understand about that. You don't want to talk to them about women problems or why the IRS is tripping on you about your taxes or why your car is acting up and the check engine light is on. They don't know nothing about that. That's work. You got to have a personal mastermind group. And if you create yourself or you go find yourself a group of people that you can connect with on that level, you'll find that all that stuff that you keep balled up like a knot on the inside that's going to turn and manifest into something physical problems, you'll be able to get that shit out of you and talk to them. And you can bounce those ideas and bounce those thoughts off of them. And they're going to turn around and pour back into you as well. You won't be getting sucked on from all the other people that's always coming to you, but you have somebody that you can actually pour into, and then they'll pour into you. If you don't have that, and if you got to think about, damn, do I have that? Then the answer is you don't have it. It should have came instantly. Like, yo, man, I got that. When you get to the point where you're saying, yeah, this is my team right here. You don't know them, but I got a team of people that's really dope, and we connect and we hang out, we talk. If nothing else, we talk on the phone all the time. Then the issues that you're speaking of will be alleviated, guaranteed.
Got you. And that would be excluding like that's my pops.
Same business. It's not just business.
Yeah,
it's personal as well. I get it. You're in college and you got the study group. That's the study group. You got your coding group and your friends that you guys as a computer programmer and as a musician and all that kind of stuff. You guys are doing that and making money or doing code and writing apps and shit like that. It's going to the app store. That's them. But I'm talking about the people that you could talk to about your woman issues. I'm talking about the ones that you can say when you feel a pain in your back, you can call them up and you know that they're going to be there at the hospital with you.
Yeah.
That's the ones I'm talking about. If you don't have that kind of crew, you got to get one. Get one as soon as you possibly can.
Gotcha.
And he said 2, and I want to emphasize what he said. He said no more greater than 2. I can say I got close-knit friends as well. And I mentioned about the A1s is that you have to use discernment. Do not invite anybody who you have any type of suggestion that they're not for you. Life is too short to be surrounding yourself with a circle, especially as men, knowing that somebody on your corner that you count on is not for you, right? So I'm saying that this is invest in this as invest in terms of your body, your health, your mindset, but also invest in the people in the circle you cultivated and making sure that you also hold as a man, because they can hold you accountable. And like I said, use discernment to making sure that nobody, only the closest to get into that circle, nobody comes in.
Man.
Go ahead, Shane. I don't know if I said it's not limited to 2. It's a minimum of 2. Just want to put that out there. It could be larger, just long as you know they're the right people, like you said.
Yeah. I get what you guys are saying.
And that book is by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Classic.
Yeah. And there's another version commissioned by the Napoleon Hill Foundation, written by Dennis Kimbrough. So there's a Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice or something to that effect. But yep, that's it right there.
But Shane, you on mute.
This book, I have a library. In my house around the corner over there. But this is the only book I keep in my living room. It's beat up, it's tore up. But this book is a cold piece. It's a manual that tells you how to succeed. It's a manual. I'm not going to talk much about it. You guys, it's free. It's even a free book if you want to just get the audio version on the iPhone in the bookstore. But it talks about the part that I keep failing on, and what most people fail on is chapter 9, where it talks about the mastermind group, because a lot of people can't get together and put a mastermind group together. It's tough to do that because it's hard to find people that's motivated that wants to do the things that you want to do. But just check it out if you get a chance. But the point is, to answer your question, is how do you get that shit out? Who do you talk to? You got to have yourself a dope network of people that you can speak to. And then once you get that, man, you'll be able to call them up and be able to pour into them, and they'll pour into you. Don't just be the only one that's everybody's just coming to you for advice and always talking to you and pulling and yanking on you. You got to have somebody that you could talk to.
Facts.
Right.
Man, this conversation giving me chills, man. This is what I like. This is what I like. This is a great conversation. We're going to start taking calls right now. I know you guys been patiently waiting down there. We appreciate it. Only thing I ask is when you come up, keep it brief. Keep it like 2 minutes. Get straight to the point. None of these long, drawn out stories. It's not that. We're not having that today. So just make sure y'all get straight to the point. I see y'all shaking y'all head down there. What's going on, Sheep Doggy Dog?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Welcome to the show. What you got for us, brother?
Appreciate it, man. I'll be brief. Just want to say, for starters, man, I feel like I done robbed so much game for y'all that I had to start donating. So I appreciate the game. Trill, Shan, Rilla, you guys, man, you know what you're doing, but you don't know what you're doing, man. Y'all doing something for the culture. But just briefly, I'm 31, been married since I was 25, been with the same chick since I was 19. My son grew me up. He's 2 years old now, and it really made me question some of the things that I was taught growing up by my father, by my stepfather, by my basketball coaches and stuff like that. I'm a police officer, been a police officer for about 8 years now. And since my son was born, I really started to question or really take my mortality into question, because I want to leave a legacy for him. And I figured I'd make myself harder to kill. I used to do jujitsu a long time ago. You guys talked about being able to detach, talked about your egos, talked about the sign language. My wife and I, we sometimes have, small little scraps, just like everybody else. But what I can say is, doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I'm not talking about karate, I'm not talking about Tai Chi, I'm talking about stuff that legitimately really works, that saves a lot of officers' lives in the real world, and just regular people. You know what I'm saying? I do it with councilmen, I do it with other police officers, firefighters, things of that nature. Moral of the story is that it gives you an opportunity to troubleshoot and think through issues under stress, to keep from either getting choked out, to going to sleep or stuff like that, because it's always like the person who has the most contingencies is prepared to win. And I think about those things when I get into little verbal, back and forth with my wife. It's like I see what she's doing. I can easily notice the sign language. And just like Shan said, just throw it to the side, just let it go, because I see what she's doing. And it helps you maneuver, because people are terrain. They're rugged, they're rough, they get in the way. You just don't know what kind of terrain you're getting into. So once you have more tools, more contingencies, more plan Bs, the better, more likely you are to succeed, especially in communication. So again, I'm only 30, but to the guys my age and younger, I strongly suggest doing stuff like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It helps you so much clear your mind to prioritize and execute what's most important. But that's all I want to say. I appreciate you guys.
Man, I want to thank you for your service too, man. You make sure you stay safe out there, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What's going on?
How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's happening, country cousin? What's up, country
What's good,
cousin?
man? How you doing, really? My question really is how I grew up with a single mother, and as I got older, I started to notice that the way she acted was very masculine. A lot of women in my family were very masculine, and in certain areas, they would, if I had like a question about something or I had an opinion about something, they would make me feel like, I was in the wrong, or kind of like how they treat their men, especially since I'm married and have 2 children now. I learned, if I don't know how to say no to my mom or the women who do things that my wife and I don't agree with, it could be a problem if I don't address them, especially my wife. And I want to know, how do you really address them? Because I've tried it and they've said that I'm anal, that I'm rude, I'm mean, but I just believe it's the fact that for 20 plus years you dealt with men who really didn't speak up what they stood on, and now I'm gonna stand up, especially for my kids and my son, man. I was a weak man. I can't have a weak son, And I just want to know, how do I negotiate, or how do I talk to them and let them know where I'm coming from. You know, that's something that's heavy on my heart. You know, so being a young dad and cousin.
That's easy. That's easy. So, so look, first things first, don't blame them. They're women. You know, I don't want men to try to change women. Let women be women. The other thing is, learn the sign language. See, when that's the shame, insult, and guilt that I'm talking about. Oh, you like this, and oh, you like that, and so on and so forth. And they're out there being aggressive and masculine and doing all this stuff that's keeping it. And then they're envious, whether you believe it or not. You're a married man. You got a nuclear family. Your 2 children are with your wife, I'm assuming, yes? So that's what we call a nuclear family.
Yes,
For those that want to know the definition of a nuclear family, there's a father, there's a husband, there's a wife, and there's children produced by that husband and wife. A nuclear family, the definition is there's a husband and a wife, and there's children produced by that husband and wife, and those children are raised into adulthood by their biological parents. That's a nuclear family. So you have one. In our community, it's not a lot of nuclear families. It's what we're striving to get. It's what we're trying to attain. And so a lot of people hate on people that have a nuclear family. You have one. You're a low percentage of us that have that. So congratulations to you to maintain that. My other piece of advice would be sometimes you got to isolate your nuclear family from the toxic people. You may need to keep your wife away from those that's hating. I explained this before. The Army said, when I got out the Army 25 years ago, they said if you're in the Army in New York, which is where I was at, and you're from California and your wife is from Florida, y'all need to move to Texas. You can't move to Florida or California. You can't move to one of the hometowns. You guys got to go create your own kingdom and lay down your own rules in your kingdom. Wisteria. It doesn't matter. We can go to Game of Thrones. So if you have a situation where these masculine women can potentially be influencing your wife, that's going to be a problem for you later down the road. Promise me. I promise you. Guarantee it. And so sometimes as the man, you got to say, yo, this is what we doing. Sometimes you got to pack up and move. Sometimes you have to see people from a distance. I'll FaceTime you. You can see the kids from FaceTime. Because I don't need that influence poisoning the situation that I'm creating over here in my kingdom. I don't want you to assimilate. I don't want you to be so much attached to a kingdom that you grew up in. You got to break that off and go build your own land and go establish your own land and build your own castle. And once you do that, things start to smooth out a little bit. Your woman, she'll come on your program. She'll understand. You won't have those issues. And then you won't give a damn about the sign language that's coming from afar. You won't care about what they're arguing about, what they're complaining about for you, because you got your own stuff going on. And then, like you said, you was a weak son at one point and you grow out of that. And now you want to make sure your sons don't have to be like you. That is all they're going to see is dad. And all they're going to see is dad and how mom treats dad and how they're doing it. And grandma is over there and auntie's over there doing their thing, but we're not seeing that. We over here with dad. So if necessary, sometimes you got to isolate, cut off the conversations. We ain't over there every week. We ain't over there every Wednesday. They not always watching the kids. So I know it's sometimes easy to have them watch the babies. Babysit, grandma, just go over there. Grandma, it's good because you can go do what you need to do. Nah, sometimes you got to just cut that off too. So that's my advice. I don't know the whole situation, but if that's anything similar, make that happen. And I think a lot of stuff would be a lot easier. You won't care about the sign language that's coming from those masculine women in the family.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest. The advice I give you is 2 things. 1, you cannot please everybody. Don't waste energy trying. 2 is hurt people, which goes back to what Shan said. Don't blame them for it. Because all they doing is projecting their life on you. Whether it's, it's probably subconsciously. I don't think that they like want to see you hurt or like want to see you fail or anything like that. But all they can go on is what their experiences are. And oftentimes, if it's a toxic experience, then that's what they're gonna transfer to your situation, which is why what Shan was saying is so important about keep your wife away from that. Because that shit can easily trickle into your household. And next thing you know, like y'all having arguments over things that if, she wouldn't have been around them, y'all wouldn't be arguing over. Which is why I preach on my channel all the time, bro, about not following nobody's blueprint. Even if it's a successful relationship that you see, you can pull certain things from it that you can use, but don't follow nobody's blueprint. You go create your own. Because when you get to try to follow people's stuff, you can't, because you're not there day for day. You don't know the little nuances and the little things that made that relationship is what it is. They could have a totally different situation than what you got. So, which is why I practice with mine. I keep my relationship separate. I don't tell people my business, not even best friends. Anything that happens in my relationship happens in my relationship. Me and my wife is gonna deal with it. But in terms of going, oh, mama, you ain't gonna believe she did this, or daddy, you ain't gonna, she did that, or bro, she did. No, it ain't none of that. It ain't none of that, because for one, I'm giving them a biased perspective, and they're gonna give me advice based on the biased perspective that I'm giving them, which is not gonna be healthy to my relationship. You know what I'm saying? So again, I just want to echo what Shan said, bro. Like, keep your relationship. And number two, you cannot please everybody. And three, hurt people. But that you cannot please everybody, that shit is big. Because I know, like, a lot of us have that affliction, man, especially men, because we want to be problem solvers. So, anybody around us that's not feeling right, or that's having some kind of, issue with what it is that we going on, we want to appease them, especially if it's, our moms or our grandparents, or like women that we really care about. But, you're going to try to please them so much to where you're going to lose your relationship in the process of doing it. So keep that separate, keep things in perspective, and feelings are gonna be hurt. But at the end of the day, your relationship is more important than any of that, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all. I'm a deaf out, but to give y'all context, it wasn't necessarily like she was saying stuff to my wife. It was, she was saying stuff to my son. Like, to my daughter, she's pretty,
That's worse.
she's all that. But to my son, she calls my son mama, or she calls him pretty. I have a beautiful son, but I see what the world is doing to young men and little boys. I'm not gonna let you call my son, address him as a woman or a little girl. They say it's not that deep, but that stuff can lead to that. So I'm gonna stand and fight for that, even if that mean I gotta come to mom a little stern, or my aunt a little stern. And I know I can't blame them for that, but it's just, that was what I was dealing with. And my wife sees it, and she does it in front of my wife, and we feel strongly on that. We're on the same page with that. And I don't know if there's a way to ever approach mama on that or anybody, but I will come at them the correct way and let them know, you won't treat my son like a little girl. He's a boy, he's a man. Yes, he's beautiful. He might get all the females one day. I don't know, but right now, treat him like a man. Dress him handsome. Stuff like that. But I appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all a lot. This means a lot to me. I'm learning a lot. This married life, this dad life is all over my head right now. But I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all mean a lot to me.
Hey, I want you to hold tight real quick, because you just provided some more context, and I just want to make sure that you standing stern. It's not right now that they need to address. They need to always address them that way.
I got you.
Yeah, he's a male, he's a boy, and he's gonna grow into be like a young man. And if you got to separate yourself until they able to get it right, then separate yourself. It's nothing personal. I think that you always got to be the man of your household, and you got to stand on what you guys believe in firm. And I think that you need to exercise that in front of them and in front of your wife. If you're gonna lead that household, she got to understand that if you say you're not gonna tolerate that, like, your wife is watching that. So just take this advice. Take all information that people have provided for you tonight on this platform and just put it to use, man. But I just strongly suggest that nobody should be able to run your household. I don't care if it's your mother, if it's your father, whatever it is. And if they need to understand it. And I honestly believe they're going to understand it. And guess what? If they don't understand it, then oh well. I still love you. You can still talk to them. You can still call them. You can have Thanksgiving, whatever the case may be. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to address my son as this.
Say it again, JR. So it's not if the wife is on your team and she's on the program, cool. But JR said your wife is watching you. Ooh, your wife is watching you. She's standing back saying, well, what you gonna do? How you gonna handle that? Watch the movie John Q with Denzel Washington.
That stung a little bit, because she said that she watching. I know she's watching, so I gotta make sure I live up to that, especially for her, man. She a winner. Leave
and cleave, brother. Leave and cleave.
It's like that magic question people always ask: if you got a car, who gonna sit in the front seat, your wife or your mom?
Hey, I love you,
Right.
mama, but you got to roll in the back with the baby. You know?
There you go. All right, brother. Appreciate you calling in, and thanks for the support. All right.
I ain't letting it slide, Shannon. I saw the hole in your lip.
I got me spitting up my shit. You got me spitting up my drink.
I'm not letting it go.
Y'all got me spitting it up.
JR said, hold on. I was like, okay, I got it. I'll hold on.
I was just like, man, I don't know if I could let that one slide. I'm like, he needs to understand that he cannot allow that to happen. What's going on, Definitely G?
Doing all right. How y'all fellas doing?
We doing
Hey,
cool.
big dog. Appreciate it.
What you got for us?
I want to talk about how age should never disqualify or discredit intelligence. Intelligence should discredit intelligence. And what do I mean by that? The reason why there is a divide between the young and the old is because a lot of the older ones would assume, because they're of a certain age, that they don't know a lot of things. Now, granted, do young people need to experience life more to understand certain things? Yes, that's true, but not necessarily everything. Sometimes we just need to look up the information, help us to, just understand that information, and then we can add that to our intelligence. So it should never be just like you're a certain age that, you're right or wrong. It should be just based on if you're right or you're wrong, based on the information that you have. And I'm going to give you two examples of how, age kind of is not really a factor in intelligence. Taylor Ramon Wilson and Akim Kamara. Now, Taylor Ramon Wilson, he made his first nuclear fuser at age 14. At age 14, he made his first nuclear fuser. Now, if you understand nuclear fission, the slightest miscalculation will end up in two effects. Either it's going to be a dud, nothing's going to happen, or you can blow up your entire neighborhood if things go wrong. And he built it at age 14. And with Akim Kamara, he learned how to play the violin within 6 months, and he played his first concert at the age of 3 years old. So these, age is not really a factor when it comes to intelligence. Intelligence isn't a factor that is, should be taken into account. And that's the part of the reason why there's a divide between the young and the old, is because the old assume, again, that, the young don't know anything. And then what the young people do to kind of push back and say, oh, well, that's what those old people talk about. Oh, well, I don't want to listen to them because they're going to be like, oh, that's the old people. So with that being said, we should, at least when it comes to closing that divide, it should be more about, is the person right or wrong with their information rather than their age. So that's just what I want to touch on.
Hey, question.
I got pushback. Yeah. I got a little pushback on that. Me personally, I don't see, the thing that I will say is I agree with you to a certain extent, but what I've noticed is there's a difference between intelligent and wisdom. So wisdom is the application of that intelligence. So while a 3-year-old may be able to play Mozart's third concerto, doesn't mean that he knows how to navigate anything dealing with emotional maturity. And that's the problem that we're having now. Now, that's not to say that people of the older generation don't discredit, but I can't say that those two particular instances of it sounds like savantism. Sounds like a savant where they're born with an abnormality where they're just hyper intelligent. But just because somebody has Asperger's and is super smart doesn't necessarily mean he's prepared to, I don't know, go navigate the world or life, because there's more to life than just intelligence, and it's a little more nuanced. So I'm not going to sit here and say I disagree completely, but I am going to push back, because the older people that I do encounter and I do ask for, it's never intelligence. They respect me enough and they respect my ideas because I am able to bring some form of objectivity and facts. But the question starts becoming, what have you experienced? And so that's why you'll have people in the red pill community say, you can't have these guys if you hadn't had sex with like 30 people, you can't really talk about it. Which to me, that's another level of, I don't want to touch on that.
Yes.
It is a little ignorant to me, but there is some truth to, there needs to be some experience because there's nuances in life that's accepted by the vast majority. And because of that acceptance of it not being so black and white, you're going to require wisdom. So I agree with your point on a very factual basis. Intelligence is not based on age, but it's the same conversation that they had about why can you drink at 18 or why can't you drink at 18 and why you can't rent a car at 25. Because even though you may be intelligent enough to operate that motor vehicle or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that you have the experience to do certain things or the understanding. So I think that conversation from your viewpoint is very linear, but in the context of life, it starts becoming full circle. So that was my pushback on it. If that's my thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I no, I agree. That's on my point. Like I said, I agree with you on a logical sense, but like, yeah, talking about knowledge or wisdom, wisdom is sought out. Wisdom is given, but also wisdom is given to people who go through life experiences. So when you have people who refuse to go through the life experiences, and they won't be very knowledgeable of it. So it's just like on that instance, I think that what that comes with the age of, and I understand like terms of intellect, like I can use this for example, right? I can use terms of difference between the Pharisees and actually, saints of God. People read the Bible all the time saying, well, I know Proverbs, I know everything from back, but wisdom actually comes from actually knowing the word, after the context of scripture, what the interpretation and apply them. Actually, so that's why you have those divides, especially that can go another conversation with the westernized church. But on that instance of terms of like, well, I can be textbook smart, but am I actually street smart? And metaphorically speaking, and but that's the point I'm trying to say is that I hope that you understand what me and Banner are talking about, because we get you, but I think there's a difference between like what not being from a linear sense of terms of what you're trying to say, terms about experience, and difference between what's intellect and what is wisdom. But
Right. I have one example, and I don't just to kind of see if it'll make sense. So, whenever you have a job application, they always want you to have experience.
Yes.
Or when it comes to you personally, if you have a doctor that's been in the field for 20 years versus someone who just graduated in School of Medicine, let's say Emory, which is in Atlanta, right? They're both intelligent. I'm not going to discredit one's intelligence over the other, but I will place more faith in experience. And that's kind of my example for it. You seem like you was going to break it down, so I don't want to cut you off.
Oh yeah, and I agree with both of your points. And I'm not saying this out of like some pride. I'm over there. Oh well, definitely G thinks he's smart. I'm not doing that. But what I'm trying to do is just like demystify that misconception. It's like I agree completely. It's more like you will trust a person, even though like they're just out of college and they got the intelligence, but you still want that 20-year-old doctor to work on your heart. So, so I get that point exactly. At the same time, it's just that misconception of that divide between the young and the old. It's that the young is like, they would say like, oh, well, the old people are just talking about like old people stuff. And the older ones, some of them would assume that the young people don't know what they do. Now, granted, yes, they have a lot more experience, and the young ones should slow down and, take in all that discipline and understanding. At the same time, both of your points very poignant. It really takes that experience to really take in, cement that wisdom that you have, because wisdom is applied knowledge. So when the young ones could be patient, slow down, and then the older ones just disseminate the wisdom and really be patient with the young ones as well. So yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I kind of heard you summarize it up at the end, but I'm really curious. What Do you think part of the divide is that because sometimes young bloods are so intelligent that they believe they're on equal footing with the elders and the OGs? You feel like they
Yeah,
should?
in certain cases, yeah. I would say like, certain young people would think like, because they have the internet, they know everything. Yeah, I would
Do
agree
you
with that.
think
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
You do think that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you what I just because I figured that's where I got some of that energy from. So what do we, and I'm asking this genuinely, what do you got 4 OGs on the panel right now? What do we need? What should we be learning from you that maybe you're not getting from us, or what can we learn from your generation?
Well, it's more for understanding. I mean, you guys have more of experience and, in your life. I'm not trying to take over your throne, not at all. It's more that, again, with patience, that with the older generation, it's more of like there's a lot of assumption in some cases. In some cases, not all, but there's a lot of assumption going on. And that's what creates that divide. So that's what I'm trying to do, is close that gap.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the older ones are actually trying to be, help you through with their experience. At the same time, the young ones have to kind of, slow down a bit. That's what I'm saying, to close the divide, not, try to perpetuate it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know if Shannon or Trill want to jump in, but I will say this: when I speak to the young bloods, I let them know, man. Listen, I'm of a certain age now. My legs ain't what they used to be, right? And I know one of the complaints that my generation had was that nobody passed the baton to us. So there are a lot more people from my generation that understand that, and we are passing the baton to you guys. And I know Shannon will appreciate this. There's a scene in Colors with Robert Duvall and Sean Penn, and Robert Duvall tells the story of. Yep.
Let's walk down.
Yep.
Go ahead, tell them the story. You know, I know it off the bat.
Yep. So Robert Duvall is telling Sean Penn the story about the two bulls. There's a papa bull and a baby bull, or papa bull and baby bull. They're sitting on top of the hill. And the baby bull says to the papa bull, "Hey dad, why don't we run down that hill and get one?" Because they're overlooking all these cows. So why don't we run down that hill, get one of those cows and fuck them? Right? Papa Bull says, "No, son, let's walk down and fuck all of them." Did you see that? Did you see the wisdom in what the Papa Bull said?
That's a wild analogy, but yeah, I got it.
Yep. Well, for I just want to get to clarify if I have the understanding. What was the meaning of that?
We're talking about the difference between wisdom, experience, timing, proper application of knowledge, right? And just the eagerness to get out there and want to run after something, right? So you talk about that patience that comes on both ends. I don't disagree with that at all. I agree with you. There should be patience on both ends. So who should defer to the patience first?
Well, yeah, the young should defer to that patience first.
No, I'm genuinely asking. I'm genuinely asking. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. I'm genuinely asking. You honestly believe that?
Yeah. I would say. Well, let me try to word not word this in a certain way, but I would say when it comes to like teaching in general, when you're an elder, I would say it's more for patience for the older generation to try to see if they can get through to the younger ones. At the same time, with the younger ones, be patient to listen to what the older ones are saying. So it's more trying to gear the information so the younger ones can understand the information better. That's all. In the patience, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When Robert said, basically it was about knowledge and wisdom. That whole analogy in the movie Colors, go watch it. It's a good movie. I grew up on it. It was about knowledge and wisdom. See, the young bulls know how to fuck. They know how to fuck. They know. I know how to put it down on the cow, Pop. You can't tell me nothing. I know how to have sex. I know how to do it. Let's run down and fuck one right now. Let's run down and fuck one of these cows. I know how to do it, Pop. I got the knowledge. I went to Google and learned. Pops is saying, well, son, that's cool that you know how, but you don't understand everything that's going to come after that. In fact, you're going to want to fuck a lot more than just that one cow. Why don't we walk down? Instead of running down and fucking one, we can walk down and fuck them all. And so just because he has the knowledge, see, wisdom protects. I just had this conversation today. Wisdom protects knowledge. And while I know that a lot of young cats believe that they have the knowledge and I know everything and I could just Google this and I could just look it up and I read and I got the internet, I got YouTube, I know everything that you don't know. I know more than you know, in fact, in a lot of things. I know you know it, but do you know how to apply it to make it work for you in your advantage? Do you have the wisdom that you need to apply this? See, in the military, you can't be a general unless you're over 40 years old. That's just the way it goes. There's no way to be. If you graduated high school at 18, enlisted, went to officer candidate school and got everything done and went as fast as you possibly can, you still won't be a brigadier general until you're 42 years old. It takes 20 years to become one. And the reason why that's the case is because you have to have wisdom to be able to lead this amount of troops into battle. It requires the wisdom. It doesn't require the knowledge. I don't care how many books you read. I don't care if you learned the art of war and you learned all of this kind of stuff when you was 25, 26, 27 years old. We require time in service. You got to get the time in service stripes on the left arm, not just so before you get the 1 star on your lapel. And so I hear what you're saying. The problem is these OGs is acting like we don't know what we're talking about. We know that you know what you're talking about, but do you know how to apply it to make it work for you? That you don't know. And because when I was 25 years old, when I was 20, I thought I knew everything until I was 25. And then when I was 25, I thought I knew everything until I was 30. And then I said, damn, I didn't know the fuck I was talking about when I was 25. And then when I got 35, I said, shit, I still don't know. At 35, I thought I knew. When I turned 40, I said, I'm giving up. I'm not going to act like I know anything. Now I'm at 49, still learning stuff. But it took me to 40 years old to realize, stop thinking I know everything. If only I knew that and had the wisdom to know that when I was 20, I'd be a multimillionaire today. Multiple millions. But it took me all this time to realize that. And so I know that I know youngsters, I know that you guys think you know everything that you need to know. You probably have the book smarts. You probably know all the code. You probably memorized the textbook. I got it. But to apply it to make it work for you is going to require a little bit of wisdom and some time and service to make it work.
Oh yeah, completely 100% agree. I just wanted to clear that up with a lot of your young and old ones, or at least young people, I should say, young people. That it's not necessarily really like they're assuming anything. It's just like they have the life lessons that they've gone through their whole life, and they're trying to impart that. So that's what I'm trying to kind of clear up. So yeah.
Okay. I definitely appreciate you calling in, brother, and thanks for your constant support.
Thank you.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
What I think is interesting, I'm not saying this about him in particular, but humanity typically has a knack to gain more knowledge and look at the previous or the predecessors with a little content and less than. Like, for example, I know, back when it was war to dominate land, now we look at them as savages, but that's just how it was. After gaining knowledge and implemented that knowledge, there's terms like peace agreements, or we don't have to do this. And I'm not saying that's what he was doing. I just think as humans, we tend to do that. And I don't want you guys, I really do appreciate the 4 of you, taking time to hear what I have to say and hear what Jedi Mike has to say. And I think it's important to give your elders flowers, even if you don't necessarily agree, but the idea that you guys are taking the time to, listen and feedback, I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I was just about to say that because I didn't want to just speak on behalf of him, but basically what he's saying is what I'm feeling. Just that you guys are giving us the opportunity just to share, our experiences, but also be able to have the humility to also just sit back and listen. Because even then, we appreciate. I know I'm speaking for banter, but like we appreciate. I see the comments here. Like I appreciate the kind words saying that we're old souls and everything. That we got a lot of knowledge or wisdom and stuff like that. But I want to be frank when saying that. Listen, I'm standing here as someone who isn't perfect. I'm standing here with open ears, knowing that. Listen, even though. Imagine I'm 23 right now. Imagine what I'm gonna be when I'm 30, talking like this where I am now. Imagine where Banter's gonna be when he's 30. You know, and to me, that person scares me. I don't even know what he's gonna what he's gonna be saying or what he's gonna be doing, right? But I just know that on that instance, that takes in terms of prioritizing the process, but having this opportunity, not taking it for granted. I know that's one thing. We're the most information age, but yet we're the least dumbest because we don't actually access the information that's right in front of us. And right here, this is an opportunity that I just say I don't speak for Banter, but I know he probably agree that me and him, we're not taking this moment for granted, talking to y'all at all.
Man, I can't wait to see y'all at 30 years old. I can't wait to hear what y'all talking about at 30 years old, fam.
Yeah, I love it, man. Salute to y'all boys.
JB, what's going on with JB, man? See, he's supposed to be in that chat working, man. He's supposed to be in the chat working.
Yeah.
Yeah, can y'all see me?
Where you at?
No, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Can't see you, but we can hear you. I love it when JB pull up.
Whoa.
What the hell was that?
Whoa. Turn the camera the other way, man.
He trying to promote his OnlyFans. JB, dog, you can't promote OnlyFans on YouTube. You gonna get him banned, shadow banned.
Damn, I don't know. Hey, I don't know what the hell y'all saw, but
we saw something that we saw ashy knees and toes
that we didn't want to see.
What they said in the chat, I gotta go see the chat. Oh, they
I'm Jordan.
I already know. I already know
I'm
they
Jordan
I already know they
Peterson,
gonna
clean
be
that
roasting me, man. I already know.
Clean your.
All right, what's going on, JB? What you got for us?
JB dropped $100,000 a year in super chat, so can't nobody talk shit to JB about it for me. What up, JB?
You said what?
No, I was saying.
I was
welcome. What you got for us?
Not much, man. So not much, man. So here's what I was gonna say, man. Here's what I was gonna say. So basically, what I wanted to talk on what Definite G spoke on, right? So I think the main issue is that it's not that we like. I think the younger generation wants to hear from the old heads, right? The problem though is that a lot of old heads, what they do is instead of provide substance, they hide behind their age, right? When they can't provide us like some substance. So in other words, like I had this happen to me the other day where I was having a back and forth with an old head, and basically he said like it was over dating and relationships, and when he couldn't make a point, instead of basically just admitting that he didn't know or whatnot, instead what he said was, you're just not mature enough or stuff like that. And that's what a lot of old heads do. Instead of saying, okay, here's the correct point, here's what you said that was wrong, instead it's like, I'm older than you, so I know better. That's always this kind of like condescending attitude. And so I think that basically makes it so that a lot of young folks, they tune out, like, because they don't want to hear that. Like, y'all see what I'm saying? So I think that's what Definite G was coming from. I agree. I agree. There is like a difference between wisdom, right? Wisdom, experience, etc., and intellect. I agree with that. So we want to hear, but what we're not going to do is just let you be condescending because you're older. Like, just because you're older doesn't mean that you get to just use that as a shield every time.
Yeah, but see how you phrased that? You said, we're not going to let you. And what I think the part of the disconnect that comes in with OGs, like, I couldn't imagine, like, the OGs on my block, even when I agreed with them or didn't agree with them, there was a protocol there. I understood that they was older than me. They had put in the work. And I might not agree with them. I think, Banter kind of alluded to something earlier in terms of, you don't, at a younger age, you don't hear it, but then you recall it later on in life and it makes sense and it starts to gel. And so part of what I do in my approach when I speak to young men, and part of what I was doing tonight was I was doing a lot more listening than talking, because I think that's important. I think that, the men of my generation didn't necessarily we didn't have people that would listen to us, right? And so, you know, that contributed to the divide between my generation and the elders that came before us, right? But we always understood there was a level of respect. Even if, like, even the derelicts on the corner were given a certain amount of respect, just as men in our community. You know, the same guy that was on the corner that, you know, I wore glasses all my life. I've said this plenty of times. If we go on my block, they call me professor, right? So they professor, and they wouldn't let me get into nothing, man. I couldn't sell drugs. I couldn't gang bang. I couldn't go do none of the oofy goofy stuff everybody else was doing. I had to go to school and come home and do chores or whatever else. I had a very simple life growing up. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so I think
Chicago, I can't lie.
yeah,
I'm just thinking about the fact that the chat is probably roasting my ass right now. So
yeah, they are. It's okay. But I mean, you hey, listen, man. You dropped from what I saw, it looked like you dropped $150 tonight. So tell them to match your energy on that. Tell them to get their weight up, not their hate up, and then we can conversate about it. Right?
Hey, listen, they need to get it out. They need to get it out.
Yeah, but here's the thing, because I think this is real important and why these conversations are important, especially when we're talking about having these conversations with the young bloods, right? Because, and I may be seeing it wrong, because I feel like a lot more men from my generation are like going through leaps and bounds to give back and pour into. And part of what I'm hearing is that we still have a lot more work to do in terms of bridging that divide. Am I hearing that correct or no?
Yeah, I would say so. I think yes. Go ahead.
No. I just wanted to clarify. Go ahead. I
got pushed here
because I think because again I'll say this again. I think it would be because the thing is, I hate to see, on one hand, I hate to see certain young folks who don't respect their elders, right? Because for me, I was raised to respect my elders. So for me, on one hand, I can't stand it when I see young cats who don't want to listen to anything older folks have to say. But then on the other hand, like it's like, just because you're old doesn't mean everybody has to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the approach that a lot of old heads take is, I'm older. And so that's where the divide is because, especially think of it like this. If you're a young dude and especially if you've had to be on your own for a while, you haven't had anybody looking out for you. And then this man is coming to you and tell you, I know everything. It's like, bro, I've had to raise myself. That's just an example. But it's like, that's how a lot of old heads will carry themselves. Like, oh, just because I'm older, you got to listen to me, or you got to just accept what I say as the gospel. And I'm telling you, man, like, a lot of young folks are not going for it. And I can tell you right now, myself, like, I'm always eager to listen to folks older than me. But the moment they come with that energy, I tune out. The moment you come with that energy, I immediately tune out.
I know.
So I think this kind of goes back to, us a little bit in the form of providing people grace. Like, that's the aspect of the younger generation that is not shown across the board. Cancel culture is a perfect example of that, where if you do something wrong from years ago, you can't be afforded grace to say that I was wrong, or I may not have been right in that. And I think that can be problematic, because I understand what you're saying, like, in the sense of, if somebody's going to try to give you information, they probably shouldn't come from a condescending tone, but at the same time, chew the bones and spit out the meat. And it's easier said than done. And it takes, like they were saying earlier, about regulating your emotions and being able to process information to do that. And I think that you're capable of doing that, Jonathan, because you seem collected. But
why though?
Because the reason being is because.
But why does it? Because I think it should fall, especially if you're the elder. If you're the elder, I think you should set the example, right? So I shouldn't be the one who has to. I agree with you on principle. On principle, I agree with you that I should behave a certain way in general, right? But I'm saying that, why should it fall on me? I think the elder should also understand this is how you should deliver the message, right? I'll give you an example. I don't know if this is a good example, but Kevin Samuels did this on his show last night, which I thought was pretty interesting, where like he was talking about body counts, and he asked the fellas a question in the chat, and then he basically said, okay, if you agree with this, or if this is your position, put this in the chat, right? And then based on what the fella said, he then responded and said, y'all are wrong. if you think this is going to happen with this, if you think a woman who's this age is gonna, if you think you can find a woman at this age who has this body count, this is, you know what I'm saying? So he actually used their actual example, like he listened and then he responded, right? But a lot of folks are not listening to what the younger folks are saying, and they're just saying, I'm gonna force my view onto you, right, in a very condescending manner.
I don't know if I can say that's the case. That it starts going back to the idea of wisdom and experience versus, intellect and what you think statistically. The reason I'm gonna address the first part of that question, which was why should we have to? The reason is respect. Like there's a level of code and respect that America hasn't maintained, and because of that, it translates to the older generation and the younger generation being at odds instead of it being a unity. So I understand what you're saying. Life is not fair. Why do I have to, as a man, provide for a woman? Why can't she provide for me? It's just not fair. And I'm pretty sure I can come up with a more intelligible argument for why we should do it. But as of now, I can say that it's because there's an understanding.
I'm not talking about fairness.
No. You asked earlier, you said, why should I have to do that? And you said you agree with me on principle. And I would say, I think the reason why you should do that, because there's a shared understanding that this human being has been on this earth for longer than you have. And even if they may not deliver something in the way that you like it, there's still information and knowledge to be taken from it. And you don't have to be so right out and be like, you came at me wrong, so no. It's more like, let's show some grace. Go ahead, my fault.
And going to that point, it's also, and I just when God mentioned it, I want you to hear me right. It's also ego too. You gotta shove that to the door. It's like because you have to understand. It's like the whole thing of like why do I have to listen to that? Well, it's like the whole point of why should I? Instead, let me say, you know what? Let me just hear him out. And right, you can say some people might come correct, but it's the same thing. Them not pulling punches with the truth or where any type of information might be given to you. It's like I said, we can use him for example, Kevin Samuels for example. How many times some information that might come out and people like, well, I didn't like what he said, how he said it, he came correctly. But what was he actually saying certain things? And I'm not saying agree with him on everything, but just when there are things that are in anybody, in a sense, even on his own platform, when they make a point, when they make a legitimate argument, and some of them might not communicate the best way, and some of them might not come correctly. But were they wrong what they were saying? And also to the person on the receiving end, do you have enough humility in terms of yourself? So you know what, you didn't come correctly. I could just say, I'm not even listening to this this hothead right now because you didn't come correct, or I could just say, let me just check it out. Let me hear him at the expense of losing wisdom that he might be given to you.
Jedi Mike, I think.
P Ray strikes again.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah,
It cut out a little bit.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So Jedi Mike, so basically, okay. So we actually maybe I didn't do a good job at articulating this, right? We actually agree. Like I'm not talking about tone, right? There's a difference between tone and tough love, and you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying a man has to talk to me and just be soft and all that. That's not my point. I'm not saying so I understand that an old head could come to me with some tough love or something that I don't want to hear. That's not the point. I'm specifically talking about being condescending, right? Like you don't have tough love doesn't mean you have to be condescending. I'm specifically talking about the condescending part because that's actually important. And it may not even be about me. Like remove me out of this, right? I'm talking about if we're trying to address the disconnect, right, between the young folks and the old heads, right? The overall in general. I'm telling you, this is a common occurrence why it's the case, right? So if that's not addressed, then it will not be resolved. Now, between me and other people, like on a personal level, I get what you're saying. Like I'm not, remove me out of, but I'm specifically just talking about the fact that a lot of old heads, they come with the condescension. And then on top of that, it's like, there is really no guarantee that you're actually correct. And in fact, there are certain cases where you may not be correct or we may just disagree. Like just because you're old doesn't mean that we may not have ideas that are just different, that we just happen to disagree on. That also is possible. But if your immediate reaction is to, let me dismiss what the younger person is saying, and then let me use my age as a shield for why I'm dismissing it rather than the substance of the argument, right? Then the younger folks will just look at you like, oh, why do I need to listen to you? You see what I'm saying? That's the point I'm making. Is like they're gonna look at you like, why the hell do I need to listen to that? Like you didn't even address the substance of what I said. You're just going against, you're going against it, and then you're using your age as a shield. That's the point. Do you get the difference? Like I'm not arguing on the tone. I don't really care about the tone.
So it's like when your mom goes, do it because I told you to type deal. Can you hear me?
I guess, but I mean that's. But it's
No,
my
I know
parents,
what
so
you're
that's
saying,
different.
JB. I know
I get
exactly
it.
what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I think Shannon was going to jump, and I really wanted to hear what he was going to say because I know he deal with the young bloods too.
No, go ahead. You got it.
No, I just when you talk about that condescension, and that's the part that I was saying. It's like I think that there are a lot of old heads that have made extraordinary, but it could be just a circle that I run in, because like you said, taking yourself out of it. I understand exactly what you're saying. I know there are people out there where there are some gentlemen that are condescending in their tone, not tone, but just condescending in their conversation, period. But I think the bigger thing, and I think what Jedi Mike was talking about, the bigger thing at play is ego. The young bloods definitely want to prove that they're worthy of standing on the same battleground and playing field as the older heads. And the old heads like, yo, you ain't got enough notches on your belt. You ain't been around the block enough times to even stand on it. So pay attention. Let me show you how to do this, young whippersnapper. I get it. So let me ask you this, JB. What do we do? How do we? What's the tangibles to bridge the divide?
That's a good question. I think the best way to approach it, because again, I do think there's a lot of wisdom that young folks can learn, from old heads. So I really wouldn't want to see this disconnect continue. So I think the best way is to have a listening ear on both sides, right? To first of all, I think that usually the first step of that is just the dismissal part, right? Because a lot of times the way it starts is by the old head just dismissing whatever the younger person said. So maybe start by not immediately dismissing what the younger person said and actually listening, and maybe trying to find a connection of, okay, here's why he thinks like this. Let me address the substance and then make my point. Because I think you can even make a general point about humans on this, where it's like if you just dismiss people, immediately they're on the defensive, right? Immediately they either are on the defensive or they tune out. So I would say the best first step is just let me not dismiss this person. That's just me, but I mean that's how I'm looking at it.
I think that
To
works
be honest, I
both
think
ways.
like as young dudes, man, I think, and I can speak to it because I've been there. A lot of young dudes, like, we got a chip on our shoulder, and it stems from not having proper guidance when we was younger. You know what I'm saying? Like I was lucky enough to have a dad, but a lot of my friends didn't. And just like I spoke about the OGs in my hood, like a lot of them wasn't good OGs. So what that does is that breeds a sense of resentment, a sense of I want to prove that I'm better than y'all. I want to prove that my dad wasn't in my life, so now I have I take everything with a grain of salt. It's like we talking about condescension. Think about it is that's relative, right? So it could be condescending to you, but somebody that has a bit of context and a bit more of a perspective, it's like, okay, well, he's just blunt. So it's, cool, whatever. I'm not taking it personal, but I'm just gonna listen to, what it is that he's actually saying. And I think with young dudes, fact is that, older dudes have earned the right to do that because they've been on this earth longer. My grandpa tell me something all the time. He said, boy, I earned the right to be able to just be blunt and just say what the hell I want and do what the hell I want to do. I done been on this earth for 60 years. You haven't. You know what I'm saying? And again, me being a young dude, it's not on my brain to try to compete with him or to try to prove that I know more than him or to try to prove that we on the same level. Sometimes you just gotta let people have it. Just like in a relationship, it's no different. We spoke about earlier in detail about arguing with your girl, going back and forth with your girl. Yeah, you could be right, but what does it matter? You proving you right. Okay, now you in the doghouse. Now y'all not now y'all not speaking. Y'all not whatever the case may be. So sometimes you just gotta just let her have it. Like get what you want to say out. But I'm not about to sit here and go back and forth to try to prove that I'm superior than an elder, or prove that I'm superior than my girl. Like again, it goes back to what Banner said about chewing the meat and spitting out the bones. Everybody's delivery is not going to be the same. but you can't take it personal because you
But
don't know me. Right.
But Troy, you just made it about tone. You just made it about tone again. And I was trying to make it clear. There's a because you're talking about bluntness and that's my point is there's a difference, right? There is a very big difference between somebody being blunt. The bluntness is not the issue. The bluntness is not the issue, right? So there's a difference between somebody being blunt and somebody being condescending.
But that's subjective. That's the problem.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
No,
is that
not.
it's
That's
relative.
It's not
I think you're talking about like being dismissive more so than the tone or whatever the case may be. So like when you give your perspective, young dude, you gonna see. Okay, I hear you, but nah. Again, as an older person, they've earned the right to do that. And as a young, that's not saying like if somebody told me that, I wouldn't take it personally. And the reason I wouldn't take it personal is because I'm not trying to compete with them. Like it sounds to me like you're trying to compete with them.
Sure. The example you just took though is it aligns with what you said, but I'm making a different point. So with the example you just took, I agree with you. I think you guys are missing the point. I agree with the point about tone and bluntness. Like I don't think any man, young or old, should be worried about another man's tone. You should just listen to the message and get the substance from it. I agree with that, right? But if somebody's speaking down on you, there's a difference between somebody speaking down on you versus I'm providing you some wisdom with some bluntness, right? Somebody can
wait.
provide you some wisdom.
Wait. Define speaking down. Give me an example of speaking down so we can kind of get some clarity here.
He's talking about condescending. You know, condescending is about authority. Somebody speaking with a level of feeling that they have a level of authority over somebody else simply because, in a condescending way, he's older. Nothing else to do with it. Just simply because he's older, that he's being condescending to the young guy. And I think that's what JB is saying. JB is saying it's not about him being assertive or him being rough. It's him saying, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about until you get my age. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm older than you. And then that is what I think JB is saying, that men that are younger are having a problem with men that are older, because older men are saying, you're not giving me no context. You're not giving me no game. You're not giving me the information. You're not giving me the reasons why. You're not telling me the code to this. You know, you're not giving me the playbook. You just saying I'm older, so that's it. And that's condescending.
Okay, so are you saying that you feel like most older
dudes? Exactly. See, Shannon got it. Shannon got it exactly. No, I'm not saying listen, I don't know what percentage. I'm just telling you that this is a common occurrence. If you're looking at why the divide exists and why a lot of young folks don't listen to older folks, that's a common occurrence. I've experienced it myself. I've heard other young dudes say, man, I don't want to listen to, especially when you listen to a lot of young cats in the hood, like that's why they don't listen to old heads, because they just feel like this dude just think he can, talk down on me. And if we're trying to resolve it, we can't just say, oh, you just got to accept it, because they're not going to accept it. I mean, you could, again, because we're not talking about tone here. We're not, like Shannon just described it perfectly, right? It's like, just, if you're going to give some game, give some game. If you're going to give some substance, give some substance. Then I can learn something from it. But if you're just going to tell me, oh, I'm older than you, you just need to grow up. It's like, bro, I learned nothing from that. All I learned from that is that you're older than me. That's it. That's all I learned from that, is you're older than me. Whereas if you provide some game, you may provide some game, and you may even provide it in a harsh tone. You may be blunt as hell. That may be actually useful to me. I might have to sit back and say, okay, let me just hear him out. But if you're just going to say, oh, like, I'm older than you, so you just got this all wrong. It's like, bro, what did I learn from that? Other than you're older than me, what did I learn from that? That's the point I'm making.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm walking if that's the case, I'm walking back my argument, because that what you're saying makes sense to me.
Yeah. What's going on, Michael? Welcome to the show. What you got for us?
Yeah, I'm gonna hop off it in case other people want to get on.
All right,
I'll explain to you later,
appreciate
JB.
you, JB.
Hey, man.
I think thanks for the support too, JB. Always.
All right.
Yeah.
No problem, bro.
Yeah, we'll link up, bro.
Hey, fellas, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sir, we hear you. What's going on?
Nothing much. Big fan of your show. You guys are doing big things. And Jai, Mike, and C Banter, oh my gosh, you guys are so wise beyond your years. It honestly feels like I'm talking to mature 35 to 40-year-old guys. So, I can't believe you guys are so young. So, but
thank you.
So anyway, I guess I got kind of have a question, which is kind of like I don't know if you want to call it a doomsday scenario, but I just want to see or what you guys have to say on the subject. And then any of you guys can answer this question. So let's say the Joker would ask you to go all the way to the top of the Willis Tower, and he tells you,
Whoa! Hold on. You said what tower?
the Willis Tower, formerly the Sears Tower.
There you go, the Sears Tower. There you go. You got it right now.
Oh, where you from?
Sears Tower.
I'm from Willis Tower.
I'm from New York, man. But I know my skyscrapers, so I mean, I've always been into skyscrapers, so. All right, so let's say the Joker take.
No. So paint the picture for us. So
Right.
what happens?
So let's say the Joker asks you to go all the way up to the Willis Tower, and then he says to you, "I got two things in my hand. In one hand, I have your mother, and the other hand, I have your wife and children." And he drops them both at the same time. He tells you you can only save one. Who do you save? Your mother or your wife and children, and why? And any one of you guys can answer.
I'll give you a better scenario. How would you have Green Goblin have Mary Jane and the cave? Like that's a better on top of the bridge. Yeah.
To be honest, Michael, I think you made that real easy for me. You said my children are in one, right?
Yeah, your wife and children in one hand, and your mother in the other hand. Who would you say?
Right.
Who
Yeah.
would you say?
I'm going for my children at all time. I mean, first and foremost. Period. It's not even a thought.
All right. I mean, listen. I think that's the right answer and the perfect answer. And I know in a scenario like this, it sounds crazy, but it's something that I think a lot of young guys really don't think about. Because I'll just keep this brief. And my grandmother was one. My grandmother had 4 children. And she raised them in the Dominican Republic from my father's side, and she was a single mother, and she had so many opportunities to get married, and she chose not to do so. And unfortunately, she paid for the decision in the end because she ended up developing a stroke. And so, unfortunately, the person that was the person that decided to take her in was my father. And listen, my father was the best father I can have. Wish he was still with me right now, but he's with me in my heart always. But the one mistake that he made was ultimately the decision that he made to move my grandmother into a house. And so, and this is after my grandmother suffered a stroke. So unfortunately, with that decision, it left a strain between my mother and father, and it affected our marriage. And then later on, I had a conversation with my mother about this, and I never forget what she told me. She said to me, "Michael, God forbid something like this should ever happen to me. You do what your wife tells you to do." I'll never forget that she said that to me, and it was mind blowing. And I said, I wonder why my mom would say that, but to this day, it makes sense. And ultimately, that's the most important lesson I learned, is that as a man, once you get married and once you have children, they become your absolute priority, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree.
That's kind of an easy one, though. The next time you ask that question, remove the parent. Ask, what if you have your wife in one hand and your children in the other? Which one do you say?
Yeah, that one deep right there.
Oh, wait, what's the answer to that one though?
The wife?
The wife, of course.
It's still the wife.
You gotta pick. It's gotta be the wife.
Like, I mean, I could get another one.
Trill said the kids, right? Trill.
Yeah, my answer's the same. I'm not saving nobody over my daughter. That just is what it is. Period. And my wife wouldn't let me save her over my daughter. So, and if it was me in the opposite situation, it'd be the same thing. Hell no, you better not go for me. You better save my baby.
Hey, Trill, how old is baby girl? She got you wrapped around her finger, huh?
Oh man, she two.
Yeah.
Two going on.
Oh, the terrific two.
Spoiling her.
Oh,
she gets whatever she wants, big dog. It ain't nowhere. This her house, bro. I just pay bills here, big dog.
I appreciate Michael. Thanks for calling the show.
Thank you, big fan of you guys.
All right, thanks.
What What if you have a son? You gonna be toxic and masculine with him and not give him
Nah,
everything?
I mean, my son gonna be me 2.0. I mean, I'm gonna give him the game. It definitely gonna give him some toxicity because it's a little toxicity is a good thing. You already know this, bro. You know what time I'm on.
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
I
he
got a
run a
girl.
daycare center. Yeah.
Bro, I told Shan, and he had a show not too long ago. I told him in the comments, I said, boy, you have a girl, boy, you gonna be a sucker. You gonna be soft as silly putty.
Yeah, man. My daughter get it all, bro. She get it all, literally.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about that. I don't know. I may have to snip and clip. I had to snip
Don't
and
ask,
clip.
yeah, don't ask Kosha. Kosha say ain't nothing moving. See these girls like it's boys.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I definitely want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Jedi Mike and Banner, I will be in contact with you guys off air. We got some work to do. And my crew, without y'all, man, this wouldn't be great. So I just want to say salute to you brothers as well. And for the people that's out there watching, thank you guys for the constant support, all the super chats. Jonathan has donated so much money to the platform, man. Anytime he comes on,
I did the math.
Grace the platform, huh?
I did the math for Jonathan.
Yeah. Well, that was today. That was today.
No, we talked about it on my show.
You did the math across everything?
Because he always be dropping big dollars. I'm like, and everywhere he go, he drop big dollars. So I did the math.
Oh, okay. So then, you want to share that number?
$100,000. He gives $100,000 a year.
Damn.
In super chats. He gives more in super chats than most. He gives more in super chats than that. His super chats will qualify him as on the first level of high value man. Just as super chats. Yep. That dude blesses so many different channels. He blesses.
Yeah, he does. I see
this channel. He blesses.
Yeah.
My channel. He comes to my channel. He blesses Kevin. He blesses everywhere he goes. He blesses so much that YouTube stops him from blessing. He hits the limit at least 3-4 times a week on how much he can even give.
Damn.
Hey, but wait, because I think people get this confused, Shan. And maybe JR or Trill want to break this down too, because I look at it from a different way. When I go on other channels and I'm showing up in the comments, and I always make sure I support with a super chat. I think people think that like the super chat, and maybe this is maybe another conversation for another day, but people think that super chat is like a hustle. No, there's the energy and there's a reciprocity that when you give that out, that energy is coming right back to you. You're sowing seed. You're funding somebody's vision. When you talk about supporting these initiatives, you enjoy this platform, or whether you enjoy Crew Season or you enjoy, what Shan is killing the game. If you enjoy what Shan doing on his channel, and when you give them super chats, you give brothers the opportunity to fund their vision. It's not just, I'm taking the money and I'm going to Magic City and tricking off, or I'm going to Blue Flame and, well, I don't know what y'all got down there in Houston.
Be live. Dream.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, these brothers are funding their vision and they doing great work. It gives them the opportunity to keep these things going, man. So that's why those super chats are important.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. And I definitely got a shout out Shan, man. I mean, it's like when you speak, it's just incredible. I don't even think you even understand it, and I don't even think people even got the best version of you yet, man. It's just like so much wisdom and how you break it down, how you articulate, how you pin things together, man. I'm just sitting back, just sucking it all in, man. It's like real game. It's like real game. I'm looking at you, just amazed. It's like I'm looking like, damn, look at this brother. It's like next level, man. It's next level. So like I appreciate you being here.
I'm glad that y'all welcome me to YouTube. I was doing it all over at Facebook for years. And, it's like, damn. But I came to YouTube and was like, well, let me do that. And then my frat brother Kevin, I started watching him, and then ran into the lead attorney, started watching him. Then I ran into your network at Facebook, which led me over here. And so it gave me the inspiration to do all of this kind of stuff. And and the reason why is because of the law of reciprocity. It even speaks back to what we was talking about on Jonathan. It's the law of reciprocity. See, a lot of people think that karma is a one-way road. If you do something bad, then something bad's gonna happen to you. But nah, karma is it's that door swings both ways. If you do something good, that's the second law of, that's the second universal law, the law of reciprocity. If you do something good, something comes back to you. So like Jonathan Barronville out here blessing all these channels and encouraging people to do this content creation, the way he's doing it, he don't realize the $100,000 that he's putting out a year in super chats is going to come back $700,000 back to him. He's going to be so amazingly successful in what he does in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to blow his mind. But that's the reason why I do it. I want to be able to be a blessing to the young men that I speak to. Is spilling off into the women that I speak to, the Lapeef Network, and the stuff that you guys do. So I appreciate you guys even having me on here and invite me back each week, and then give them shouts out to my little channel, and so we can be here, man. I just really appreciate it.
I'm saying a little channel dropping that heat, man. And I also want to tell us a Trill, and I never told him this, man. Like I never really heard Trill talk until I heard him. But I didn't really understand the level of how intelligent this brother was until I was listening on Clubhouse one time and I heard him talking. I said, damn, this man is intelligent. Like he really got a lot of shit up there upstairs. A lot that he can stand on his own. I'm like, this man is incredible, man. Like I never told you that, man. But that's what gravitated me to you. And then you a good dude. Like me just looking at everything you do, like you an honest, good dude, man. So I just want to say shout out to you too as well. And then, really, I always rock with you. And
that's love.
The young bloods, you guys deserve to be up here. You guys deserve to be up here. And again, I want to work with you guys. You guys are special. I have talked off air about you guys, man. You guys stood out. And I just like what y'all doing, man. I'm just very impressed. Like you guys just keep doing what you're doing because you guys are the next wave. I'm telling you.
Likewise, that's what I wanted to say before I got out of here for sure, is that like it's so refreshing to hear y'all boys, give y'all perspectives on stuff, bro. I'm sitting there just like, again, like I forget, it was somebody that said something that it was in reference to the old school, whatever. And I unmuted my mic. I was getting ready to talk, and then y'all just jumped in and just crushed the answer. I had to mute my mic. I don't have nothing else to say. Them boys killed that. So again, man, salute to y'all, man. Just y'all boys remind me a lot of myself when I was growing up, and that's why, I think it just intrigued me so much, man. There was nothing that I loved more to do than this when I was growing up, sitting around like the old head, my uncles and my grandpa, and just sitting there and just listening, being a fly on the wall. I ain't adding nothing. I just wanted to just take it in, and then it's funny, like as you go through life, little shit that they used to say start applying to your life. You're like, damn, Unc said that. Damn, my pop said that. So, y'all boys got the right mindset, man. Y'all boys is going to do some amazing things. I can't wait to see it, man.
Yeah. And lastly, Rilla, you my guy, brother.
Man, you already know what it is, man.
Hey, like before Rilla even knew me, like I remember Rilla had, I wasn't even at home. And so he had dropped a bottle of this whiskey, man, like to the door, man. He left it there for me. He didn't even know. I never met this brother. He came and said, I'm gonna bring you some whiskey, man. And he left that whiskey down there for me, man. I got to the crib. I was like, man, this is a real one. And I'm gonna continue to say this, man. No matter where I go, I'm gonna always keep you with me, brother.
Hello, King. You know how we give it up, fam.
Yeah. I'm how you right by my side. You ain't got to worry about nothing.
Yeah, that's one thing about Rilla, man. It's just energy. Because I wasn't really. I was familiar with JR, but just after me and JR linked up or whatever, I really started paying attention to the channel. Really started paying attention to, really as far as just energy, bro. Like your energy, it just feels like that good OG.
Yeah,
that ain't got no ulterior motive. He just out here just trying to guide you in the right direction. And that shit is real big, bro. I love that, man.
Hey, let me say this, bro. I want to see all of us win. Trill, hey man, when you give your answers and then people push back, man, and you stand on your square, bro, you be having me thinking about that for a week. I'll be sitting up here all week long, like, wait a minute. Now he came at this angle, but all the OGs pushed back and he stood on that firm. Bro, I love that about you, fam. And then even when I see you on your platform, man, you just so cool, calm, and collected and gathered with your thoughts, and you measured in your approach. Shannon, I give it up to Shannon all the time. I dip in and out of his channel all the freaking time. And I'm so glad he monetized now. So glad he monetized so I could show up and just show support, man. I'm not trying to be funny with this, but for these channels, because I've shown up on your channel too, Trill, but for these channels that are monetized, fam, if y'all support what these brothers are doing, man, like please give it up. Please get up. Everything counts. And then for the young bloods, man, golly, I absolutely no words, man. Absolutely no words. Y'all brought it last Thursday, and it was almost like y'all was on some WWF stuff or WWE. What do they call it now? Y'all was like tag team back to back. It was like Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan or something. Man, I'm too old. Anyway, and then for like, I mean, I know cats be thinking like when I give it up for JR, man, I don't think people realize what this brother be doing. Like he's a true creative in every sense of the word, and to put panels like this together consistently, week in, week out, come up with the topics, think about where this is going, how we gonna do this and that. Man, I just sit back and I just be like, yo, fam, however I can contribute, man. You know what I'm saying? Let me put some paint where it ain't. You know what I'm saying? And say what most can't. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want to do. And the moment I'm not adding value, I'll slide to the side.
Man, I'm gonna tell Rilla. I always tell Rilla, I don't think he's living in his full potential yet, man. I think you still got a lot more you're gonna see from Rilla.
Yeah, like a whole album.
Yeah.
The whole album.
Dropped a whole bunch of bars. It's just like act like he do that. I was like, okay.
Hey, Banter, we gonna go to Patchwork and record it then.
Yeah.
I got a partner over there at Patchwork too.
Don't get me excited, man. Don't do that.
All right, gentlemen. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all get back to reality, man. We appreciate you guys for tuning in to King Talk. Catch us every Tuesday at 7:30 Central. Thanks for all the super chats that came through. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Catch us next time. We out. All right, y'all. Definitely appreciate y'all. Thanks for all the constant support. Last track. Amira's going live tomorrow with River. They're going to talk about polygamy. Talking about polygamy on the network tomorrow. So make sure you guys tap into that. Thank you guys for the constant support, man. I really like the direction that King Talk is going. I really do. And without you guys, we wouldn't even be here. You know, thanks for all the super chats, all the cash apps, all the constant support, man. I'm not even sleeping a lot of times. I'm just want to be committed to doing this and keep bringing as much value as I can to the network. Again, thank you guys. I appreciate everything from the bottom of my heart. Hey, y'all, I'm all in. I promise you guys that I'm all in. Thank you, guys.